Parliamentary Committee unanimously approves nomination of Dr. Manoj Kumar Sharma as Chief Justice. Sharma pledges judicial integrity in top court role. House of Representatives complete discussion on appropriation bill. Lawmakers discuss development, fiscal federalism and inclusive spending. Congo battles Ebola outbreak as WHO holds global health talks including hantavirus. Officials warn of rising risks. Nepalese continue leaving for foreign jobs amid ongoing employment pressure at home. 74,000 leave home in a month. Russian President Putin reaches China for two-day visit after Trump's Beijing trip. Two neighbors set to discuss trade, energy ties and war cooperation. And Neymar recalled to Brazil squad after nearly 3-year international absence. Fans celebrate as the new coach inducts forward to World Cup. Good evening, I'm Sarah Sapsanamarai and this is NTV World Prime Time News. We're coming to you live from Kathmandu at 1900 hours Nepal time. Elsewhere it's 13:15 in London, 22:15 in Tokyo and just after midnight in Sydney. Now the news in detail. Nepal's Parliamentary Hearing Committee has unanimously approved the nomination of proposed Chief Justice Dr. Manoj Kumar Sharma. The decision of Tuesday clears the way for Sharma's formal appointment as the country's top judicial authority. The committee endorsed Sharma's name during a meeting at Singadarwar after reviewing his work plan, commitments on judicial reform and responses to lawmakers' questions and also public complaints filed against him. Committee's chair, Bodh Narayan Shrestha, said the decision to approve Sharma for the post of Chief Justice of the Supreme Court was unanimous. 16 complaints had been registered against the nominee and were examined during the parliamentary hearing process. Sharma, currently a Supreme Court Justice, was recommended for the position by Nepal's Constitutional Council. Under Nepal's constitutional provisions, the President formally appoints the Chief Justice after parliamentary approval of the recommendation. With the committee's endorsement secured, his appointment as Nepal's next Chief Justice will proceed formally through the presidential process. Lawyers in Nepal staged a lantern-lit protest outside Supreme Court, accusing the court administration of obstructing judicial processes by refusing to register petitions related to constitutionally significant cases. Members of the Nepal Bar Association demonstrated during daylight hours, carrying lanterns and placards that read "In search of justice" and "In search of fair process," symbolizing what they described as a lack of transparency and access to justice within the country's highest court. The protest comes amid growing criticism from legal professionals who allege several writ petitions involving constitutional matters have been turned away by the apex court administration without registration. The association also claimed complaints challenging such decisions have been left pending for prolonged periods, effectively blocking legal remedies. Both houses of Nepal's federal parliament, the National Assembly and the House of Representatives continued deliberations on the principles and priorities of the appropriation bill as part of pre-budget discussions. During meetings held today, lawmakers from various political parties participated in the debate, focusing on the government's proposed fiscal priorities ahead of upcoming budget. Members discussed issues related to development planning, fiscal federalism, governance reforms and social inclusion. During the sessions, MPs also presented suggestions on strengthening public service delivery, boosting economic growth and ensuring that budget allocation reflects the needs of marginalized and underserved communities. The discussions are part of the regular parliamentary process leading up to the formulation of national budget for the upcoming fiscal year. Nepal's cabinet has approved financial assistance for families displaced from high-risk settlements along riverbanks in Kathmandu Valley. The meeting today also accepted a Swiss grant of 6.116 million Swiss francs for the Municipal Revenue Enhancement Project, according to the decision. Government's spokesperson Sashmi Pokhrel said in legislative and regulatory matters, the cabinet endorsed the Deputation Regulations 2083 and the Army Service 6th Amendment Regulations 2083. Time now for a short break. We shall be back with more updates. You're watching NTV World and this is Primetime News. Welcome back. Health officials are confronting two separate but concerning infectious disease events in different parts of the world, underscoring ongoing risks of emerging outbreaks and cross-border health threats. In the Democratic Republic of Congo, at least 131 people have died in an Ebola outbreak, according to health authorities. The crisis comes as the 79th World Health Assembly opens in Geneva, bringing together global leaders to address urgent public health threats and also strengthen pandemic preparedness. The meeting is focusing on improving outbreak surveillance, closing health financing gaps and reinforcing international response systems. Aprila Kesiglama reports.
As the 79th World Health Assembly opened in Geneva Monday, global health leaders gathered against the backdrop of mounting pressure on healthcare systems, widening funding gaps and growing concern over the world's ability to respond to future health emergencies. The annual meeting of the World Health Organization, the UN agency's highest decision-making body, comes at a critical moment for international health cooperation. Delegates from more than 190 member states are debating how to strengthen fragile health systems while confronting rising costs, workforce shortages, and uneven access to vaccines, medicines, and basic healthcare services. A major focus of this year's assembly is the financial strain facing global health institutions, including the WHO itself. The agency has been grappling with budget shortfalls as humanitarian crises, disease outbreaks, and donor fatigue place increasing pressure on international response mechanisms. Health officials warn that without sustained investment, low and middle-income countries could face greater difficulty detecting and containing future outbreaks before they spread across borders. Delegates are also discussing reforms aimed at improving pandemic preparedness through faster disease surveillance, stronger emergency response systems, and better international coordination. The urgency has been reinforced by recent Ebola outbreaks in parts of Africa, which health authorities say exposed persistent weaknesses in rapid response capacity and healthcare infrastructure. The WHO and partner agencies have deployed emergency medical teams and supported surveillance and containment efforts in affected regions, while officials continue urging communities to seek treatment early and cooperate with public health measures.
L'Organisation mondiale de la santé aujourd'hui a amené plus de 5 tonnes de matériel sur le terrain, des kits de prévention et de contrôle des infections. Nous avons des kits de transport d'échantillons, des tentes, des lits, du matériel de laboratoire où nous avons amené tous les premiers éléments qui sont essentiels à débuter cette réponse.
Authorities in the Democratic Republic of Congo say early detection and public cooperation remain essential to containing Ebola outbreaks and preventing wider regional spread.
Rampara et puis à Mongwalu et puis ici à Bougne, les sites sont déjà choisis. Pour la population, je voudrais d'abord dire que, et je l'ai dit hier à Kinshasa, je le répète aujourd'hui, ce n'est pas une maladie mystique. Plus vite on va prendre le malade en charge, plus vite on va le soigner, mais plus vite on va arrêter la propagation du virus. Le traitement est gratuit, venez vous faire prendre en charge, qu'on sache que c'est telle maladie et qu'on vous donne les médicaments adaptés.
Meanwhile, WHO Director General Tedros Adhanom Ghebreyesus acknowledged the organization's ongoing financial challenges, saying reforms were underway to make the agency more sustainable and better equipped to respond to future crises.
Early on Sunday, I declared a public health emergency of international concern over an epidemic of Ebola disease in the Democratic Republic of the Congo and Uganda. This is the first time a Director General has declared a FIC before convening an emergency committee. I did not do this lightly. I did it in accordance with Article 12 of the International Health Regulations after consulting the ministers of health of both countries and because I'm deeply concerned about the scale and speed of the epidemic. We will convene the emergency committee today to advise us on temporary recommendations.
The outcomes of this year's assembly are expected to shape international health policy at a time when governments are under growing pressure to strengthen preparedness, restore confidence in global health cooperation, and ensure vulnerable countries are not left behind in future emergencies.
In another part of the world, in southern Argentina, scientists have launched an investigation into a hantavirus outbreak potentially linked to a cruise ship that departed the region on April 1st. Researchers are testing rodent populations in Tierra del Fuego for the Andes strain of the virus, which is the only known variant capable of human-to-human transmission. The investigation follows several deaths, including a Dutch passenger and his wife, who had recently visited Ushuaia, prompting questions over whether the infection originated locally or was introduced via travel. Authorities say no recent local cases have been recorded and the source remains unconfirmed. Researchers focused on small, long-tailed rodents in forested areas, with results from testing expected within 4 weeks' time. Now, a strategic highway project in western Nepal envisioned to connect the Tarai Plains, mid-hills and Himalayan region is facing delays, officials and project data show. The Dhangadhi-Dipail-Chainpur road, regarded as one of the shortest north-south corridors linking Nepal's southern border with India and a northern route toward China via Bajhang, has made limited progress despite years of development. Study work on the 186-kilometer route began in 2004, with construction starting in 2015-16. However, over the past decade, only 42 kilometers have been blacktopped. The project also includes 8 bridges planned between Dhangadhi and Dipail. Of these, only 3 have been completed so far, while the rest are stalled due to budget constraints and contractor delays. The road is intended to become a key north-south trade and transit route, ultimately linking Nepal's southern border points with India and extending toward a proposed connection with China via the northern border. More than 74,000 Nepalese left the country for foreign employment in April, highlighting continued reliance on overseas labor markets for jobs, official data shows. According to Department of Foreign Employment, a total of 74,429 workers received final labor approval in the month of Baisakh, which is mid-April to mid-May. This includes 65,010 men and 9,419 women. With this, total labor approvals in the first 10 months of the current fiscal year have reached 661,762. Monthly figures show steady outflow throughout the year. Officials say the trend underscores persistent outbound labor migration as key source of employment for Nepali workers. The number of foreign climbers obtaining permits for Nepal's mountains has risen this spring season, according to Department of Tourism. A total of 1,181 climbers from 75 countries have received climbing permits in spring 2026. Mount Everest remains the most popular destination, with 494 climbers from 55 countries granted permission so far. Chinese nationals lead the list with 109 permits, followed by climbers from the US, India, the UK, Russia, Australia, Japan, Nepal and Brazil. Permits have also been issued for other major peaks, including Lhotse, Amadablam, Nutse, Himlung, Kanchenjunga and Dhaulagiri. Climbing activities are already underway, with Everest expeditions starting on May 14 after route fixing and rope installation were completed. International news coming up next. For now, a short breather. Russian President Vladimir Putin has reached China for a two-day official visit shortly after U.S. President Donald Trump's recent trip. During the talks, the two leaders are expected to discuss expanding economic cooperation, energy trade, and coordination on major global issues, including the ongoing Russia-Ukraine conflict. They also prepared to sign a joint declaration reaffirming bilateral ties.
И в настоящее время российско-китайские отношения достигли действительно беспрецедентного уровня. Их особый характер проявляется в атмосфере взаимопонимания и доверия, готовности сотрудничать на обоюдовыгодных и равноправных началах, вести уважительный диалог, оказывать друг другу поддержку в вопросах, затрагивающих коренные интересы двух стран, включая защиту суверенитета и государственного единства. Поэтому мы приветствуем введение на взаимной основе безвизового режима между нашими странами. Это не только способствует активизации деловых и туристических обменов, но и открывает новые возможности для общения и налаживания контактов между гражданами России и Китая. Тесная российско-китайская стратегическая связка играет важную, стабилизирующую роль на мировой арене. При этом мы не дружим против кого-либо, а работаем на дело мира и всеобщего процветания. Именно
Putin's visit highlights China's growing role as Russia's key economic and diplomatic partner amid Western sanctions, while both sides emphasize long-term strategic alignment in a shifting global order. The United Nations has demanded that Israel take immediate measures to prevent acts of genocide in Gaza, following a fresh report that raised concerns over compliance with obligations under the Genocide Convention. Speaking in Geneva, Ajit Sanghay, head of the UN Human Rights Office in the occupied Palestinian territories, had warned of worsening starvation and famine conditions linked to Israeli blockade on Gaza. He further stated that any use of starvation as a method of war against civilians constituted a war crime.
The Israeli military has killed 72,769 Palestinians since 7th of October 2023 in Gaza. In their homes, in IDP shelters, in hospitals, in schools, in places of worship, on the streets, while queuing for aid, while trying to fish in the sea. During the reporting period, the Israeli blockade on Gaza resulted in starvation and famine. Any use of starvation as a method of war against civilians is a war crime, and it may amount to crimes against humanity and even genocide in certain conditions. Displaced Palestinians have scant prospects of return, raising concerns about ethnic cleansing and forcible transfer.
China and the U.S. have been urged to work together to promote the development and governance of artificial intelligence, Chinese Foreign Ministry spokesperson Guo Jiakun said at a news briefing. He stated that during President Donald Trump's visit to China, the two heads of state held constructive discussions on AI-related issues and agreed to launch an intergovernmental dialogue on artificial intelligence, confirming remarks made by U.S. Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent.
作为两个人工智能大国，中美双方应该携手促进人工智能发展和治理，推动人工智能更好服务人类文明进步和国际社会共同福祉。特朗普总统访华期间，两国元首就人工智能问题进行了建设性交流，同意开展人工智能政府间对话。
More international news and sports update coming up next. For now, a short breather. The US Department of Justice has dropped criminal fraud charges against Indian billionaire Gautam Adani and some officials of his firm, days after he agreed to settle a separate civil case. Adani Enterprises, his group's flagship firm, also agreed to pay $275 million to the US Treasury to settle a separate investigation into alleged violations of sanctions in Iran. According to media sources, the Adani Group has now resolved all 3 legal cases against it in the US. This will pave the way for Adani to travel to the US without risk of legal proceedings. The 63-year-old is one of the world's richest people, worth $82 billion according to Forbes. His Adani Group is one of India's largest business conglomerates with interests in sectors including energy, ports and airports. Sweden has announced plans to purchase 4 new frigates from a naval group as part of a major military rearmament program following the war in Ukraine and the country's NATO accession in 2024. Prime Minister Ulf Kristersson described the move as one of Sweden's biggest defense investments since the introduction of the Gripen fighter jet in the 1980s. Officials said Sweden selected the French-made Frigate de Défense at d'intervention, or FDI frigate, due to its rapid delivery timeline, proven design and potential for shared costs with other operators, including Greece. The first frigate was expected to be delivered in 2030, with the remaining vessels arriving annually over the following 3 years. Defence Minister Pål Jonson said each frigate was expected to cost just over 10 billion kronor, which is around $1.1 billion, depending on final equipment and weapons systems. North Korean leader Kim Jong-un has ordered top military officials to strengthen frontline units and turn the southern border into an impregnable fortress. The instruction was given during a meeting on Sunday where he reviewed military readiness alongside senior commanders in full uniform. The Korean Central News Agency reported that Kim emphasized plans to enhance military and technical capabilities to better deter war, while also urging a stronger focus on what he called the arch enemy, referring to South Korea. Analysts said the remarks reflected evolving military strategies influenced by modern warfare trends, while relations between the two Koreas remain tense with limited diplomatic engagement. With that, we move on to sports update. Brazil superstar Neymar makes a dramatic return to Brazil's World Cup squad after nearly 3 years away from international football. New coach Carlo Ancelotti named the 34-year-old in his 26-man squad during a gala event in Rio de Janeiro, drawing huge cheers from fans.
Hicimos la evaluación de Neymar todo año y vimos que en ese último periodo él jugó con continuidad, que mejoró su condición física y pensamos que él es un jugador importante y va a ser un jugador importante en esa Copa del Mundo. Él tiene el mismo papel, la misma obligación que todos los otros 25. Escogemos Neymar no porque pensamos que va a ser un buena reserva. Escogemos Neymar porque pensamos puede aportar y meter sus calidades para el.
Neymar is Brazil's all-time top scorer with 79 goals, last played for the national side in 2023 before suffering a serious knee injury during a qualifier against Uruguay. The Arsenal moved to the brink of their first Premier League title in 22 years after a 1-0 win over Burnley on May 18. Kai Havertz scored the only goal as Arsenal extended their lead at the top to 5 points. The result left Arsenal needing one more win to secure the title, with Manchester City still mathematically in contention, depending on their remaining fixtures.
Look where we are. We are one game away from winning the Premier League with everything that we've been through, and that shows how strong the mindset and the team is.
Arsenal remained reliant on set pieces, with Havertz's goal coming from a corner as they edged closer to ending their long wait for league glory. Before wrapping up, here's a reminder of our top stories this hour. Parliamentary Committee unanimously approves nomination of Dr. Manoj Kumar Sharma as Chief Justice. Sharma pledges judicial integrity in top court role. House of Representatives complete discussion on appropriation bill. Lawmakers discuss development, fiscal federalism and inclusive spending. Congo battles Ebola outbreak as WHO holds global health talks including hantavirus. Officials warn of rising risks. Nepalese continue leaving for foreign jobs amid ongoing employment pressure at home. 74,000 leave home in a month. Russian President Putin reaches China for two-day visit after Trump's Beijing trip. The two neighbors set to discuss trade, energy ties and war cooperation. And Neymar recalled to Brazil squad after nearly 3-year international absence. Fans celebrate as the new coach inducts the forward to World Cup. That's it for this edition of Primetime News. Our next bulletin will be at 2200 hours Nepal time. Do join us through our social media and also get the latest updates from our official website, nepaltelevision.com. I'm Sarah Sapsanamarai. Thanks for staying with us. Have a wonderful evening ahead.
Welcome to the studios of NTV World in Kathmandu, Public Service Broadcasting PSB Nepal's new initiative to make Nepal more visible and audible to the global audience. Welcome on board.
This is NTV World, facts that speak, insights that matter.
Telling the stories of a changing planet. NTV World, Nepal's perspective to the world.
Exploring the heartbeat of Nepali creativity. This is NTV World.
The power of story shaped by technology. NTV World.
Unearthing Nepal's hidden heritage. Discovering the timeless Nepal.
Telling stories that endure across centuries, where culture breathes, stories bloom.
When the world moves, we make a sense of it. NTV World.
Taste of Nepal. Every recipe, every flavor tells the story.
Journalism in the digital age. Fast, focused, verified.
Stories hold power. Stories reflecting life. Stories of the hinterlands. Reporting for NTV World.
This is NTV World. Welcome to News Hour.
This is NTV World. Welcome to Primetime News.
One story at a time.
Crossing borders, connecting voices, where Nepal meets the world in dialogue. This is NTV World, Nepal's perspective to the world.
Voices that connect Nepal to the world, bringing perspective, region and relevance to every story. NTV World, Nepal's perspective to the world.
Stand by. Mic is on.
3, 2, 1, cue.
We are NTV World.
This is The World This Week, your weekly roundup of the latest international events and updates. This is me, Bhavana Casey. In this edition, we bring you the stories making headlines across the globe, from major political developments to geopolitical tensions and alliances, cultural celebrations and remarkable feats. We have all that you need. Let's begin with developments on U.S. President Trump's state visit to China. As global attention focused on shifting geopolitical alignments, Trump held high-stakes talks with his Chinese counterpart in Beijing during his three-day state visit. Trump said the meeting was very successful and unforgettable, while Xi called it a historic and landmark visit. U.S. President Donald Trump has wrapped up a three-day state visit to China after high-level talks with Chinese President Xi Jinping focused on trade, regional security, and energy cooperation. Trump departed Beijing on Friday, following what both sides described as a significant round of discussions, marking the first visit by a sitting U.S. president to China after 2017. The two leaders held formal talks at the Great Hall of the People before attending cultural events and a state banquet hosted by Xi. Discussions reportedly covered Iran, global oil supply routes, and economic ties between the world's two largest economies. Speaking before his departure, Trump described the visit as a very successful, world-renowned, and unforgettable, and said he looked forward to hosting Xi in Washington.
We had extremely positive and productive conversations and meetings today with the Chinese delegation earlier. And this evening is another cherished opportunity to discuss among friends some of the things that we discussed today, all good for the United States and for China. And it was a great honor to be with you. Please.
Chinese President Xi called the visit historic and landmark, while officials on both sides signaled interest in maintaining communication despite ongoing geopolitical tensions.
这次的访问是一个历史性的、标志性的访问。这个迄今我们已经达成了一个新的两国关系，就是建设性的战略稳定关系。这个可以说是一个里程碑式的一个访问事件，而且我们达成了很多这个合作的成果的文件。
Trump also claimed that China had agreed to continue supporting stability in the Strait of Hormuz and increase purchases of American oil, although no formal agreements were immediately released.
We did discuss Iran. We feel very similar to Iran. We want that to end. We don't want them to have a nuclear weapon. We want the straits open. We're closing it now. They closed it, and we closed it on top of them. But we want the straits open. And we want them to get it ended because it's a crazy thing. They're a little bit crazy.
The visit was closely watched by global markets and diplomats, with it being viewed as a key test of relations between Beijing and Washington amid continuing disputes over trade and regional influence. This was the first U.S. presidential visit to China in almost a decade after Xi previously hosted Trump in Beijing in November 2017. Just before U.S. President Trump headed to Beijing for high-stakes talks with Chinese President Xi Jinping, Iran rejected key elements of a U.S.-backed proposal aimed at ending the regional war, deepening diplomatic uncertainty, and rattling global energy markets. Iran's foreign ministry has said it has called for an end to the war across the region and the release of frozen assets abroad in its response to the latest U.S. proposal. Foreign Ministry spokesperson Ismail Baghai in a weekly press briefing said Iran's demands include an end to the war in the region, ending the U.S. naval blockade, and the release of assets belonging to the Iranian people, which have for years been unjustly trapped in foreign banks.
تنها چیزی که مطالبه کردیم حقوق مشروع ایران بوده. من قضاوت رو به شما و مردممون واگذار میکنم که آیا مطالبه ایران برای خاتمه جنگ در منطقه، مطالبه ایران برای توقف راهزنی دریایی علیه کشتی‌های ایران، اونچه که تحت عنوان محاصره دریایی اسمش گذاشتند، مطالبه ایران برای آزاد شدن دارایی‌های متعلق به مردم ایران که سالهاست به ناحق به خاطر فشار آمریکا در بانک‌های خارجی محبوس شده آیا اینها مطالبه زیاده خواهانه است؟ پیشنهاد ما برای این که در تنگه هرمز تردد ایمن صورت بگیره آیا مطالبه زیاده خواهانه است؟
The US had proposed an end to fighting before starting talks on more contentious issues, including Iran's nuclear program. Tehran also included a demand for compensation for war damage and emphasized Iranian sovereignty over the Strait of Hormuz. Meanwhile, US President Donald Trump said he has rejected Iran's response to a US proposal for ending the Middle East war, deeming it totally unacceptable, and warned that Washington will not compromise on security demands. Following Trump's response, oil prices have risen as international oil benchmark Brent rose by 4.1% to $105.50 a barrel in Asian trade before falling slightly. Energy prices have swung widely since the start of the conflict, while Brent crude has risen back over $100 a barrel since the ceasefire came into effect on 8th of April. The key Strait of Hormuz waterway has been effectively shut since shortly after the war started on 20th February, disrupting global supplies of oil and gas. As the Iran conflict continues to dominate international diplomacy, foreign ministers from the BRICS bloc gathered in New Delhi, where discussions were heavily shaped by rising geopolitical tensions and growing energy insecurity. Foreign ministers from the BRICS bloc, including Russia and Iran, have met in New Delhi for high-level talks dominated by the ongoing war in Iran and its widening impact on global energy security and economic stability. India, which holds the BRICS chair this year, is hosting the expanded grouping that now includes countries such as Iran, Saudi Arabia, and the United Arab Emirates, some of which remain divided over the conflict triggered by the United States and Israel on February the 28th. Opening the two-day meeting, India's Foreign Minister Subramanyam Jaishankar warned that the world is experiencing considerable flux, with conflicts driving uncertainty in global trade, fuel supplies, and energy security.
We meet at a time of considerable flux in international relations. Ongoing conflicts, economic uncertainties, and challenges in trade and technology and climate are shaping the global landscape. There is a growing expectation, particularly from emerging markets and developing countries, that BRICS will play a constructive and stabilizing role. In this background, our discussions today are an opportunity to reflect on global and regional developments and to consider practical ways to strengthen our cooperation.
The war in Iran and the resulting fuel crisis took center stage at the BRICS meeting, overshadowing broader economic cooperation as member states confront widening geopolitical divisions and rising energy insecurity. Separately, Russian Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov met his Iranian counterpart Abbas Araghchi on the sidelines of the summit in New Delhi, with discussions focused on diplomatic efforts to end the ongoing armed conflict in the Middle East. According to the Russian Foreign Ministry, the two sides reviewed the course of negotiations to settle the armed conflict unleashed by the United States and Israel in the Middle East, underscoring Moscow's continued engagement with Tehran amid escalating regional tensions. Amid widening global divisions and the Iran conflict, Russian President Vladimir Putin used Victory Day commemorations in Moscow to signal a confidence that the war in Ukraine may be nearing its end, while blaming Western nations for prolonging the conflict. Russian President Vladimir Putin has said he thinks Russia's conflict with Ukraine is coming to an end, addressing reporters after a scaled-back military parade in Moscow, marking the Soviet victory in World War II. Putin also criticized Western countries for helping Ukraine.
Ну, все замечательно, пообещали помощь и начали раскручивать противостояние с Россией, которое продолжается до сих пор. Я думаю, что дело идет к завершению, но все-таки это серьезная вещь.
Putin's comments came just hours after he used his Victory Day's parade to justify the war. In that speech, he said Russia was fighting a just war and called Ukraine an aggressive force that was being armed and supported by the whole bloc of NATO. Russia's annual parade lacked the usual display of tanks and missiles due to security concerns, as officials feared Ukraine might target Red Square with drones. For the first time in nearly 2 decades, there was no military hardware at the Red Square parade, which the Kremlin normally showcases to project Russian military power on the international stage. Meanwhile, a last-minute ceasefire between Moscow and Kiev brokered by U.S. President Donald Trump reduced the danger of any attack, and the parade passed off without any incident. Russian forces seized Crimea and parts of eastern Ukraine in 2014, then launched a full-scale invasion of Ukraine in February 2022. Putin said he will only meet Ukraine's President Volodymyr Zelensky once a lasting peace deal has been agreed to. Putin said he had heard that Zelensky was ready to hold a personal meeting, but added that this is not the first time he has heard such statements. As part of the US-led ceasefire deal over the weekend, Kiev and Moscow agreed to a swap of 1,000 prisoners from each country. But Putin said on Saturday that Russia had not yet heard from Ukraine about any exchanges. Beyond global politics and health concerns, Thailand has intensified crackdowns on transnational crime, seizing a record ivory shipment in the country's biggest wildlife trafficking bust in recent years.
Thai authorities have announced one of the largest ivory seizures in recent years, intercepting a major smuggling attempt involving 250 kilograms of African elephant tusk. The operation marks the biggest ivory confiscation in more than a decade and highlights the continued challenge of illegal wildlife trafficking in the region. According to police, 9 suspects have been detained in connection with the case. The group is accused of attempting to illegally sell the tusk through social media platforms, particularly Facebook, using covert accounts and encrypted communication to arrange transactions with potential buyers. Investigators believe the network was part of a wider transnational smuggling chain, moving protected wildlife products from Africa into Southeast Asia. Authorities said the ivory was carefully concealed to avoid detection during transport and was intended for sale in small, high-value batches to evade law enforcement scrutiny. The seizure was made after an extended surveillance operation, during which officers monitored online activity and tracked suspicious listings linked to wildlife products. Officials from Thailand's wildlife and environmental agencies have praised the operation as a significant breakthrough in the fight against illegal ivory trade, which continues to threaten elephant populations despite international bans.
Turning to South Asia, concerns are growing over the preservation of historic heritage structures in India's capital. The once grand Mughal-era Havelis that stand as symbols of the city's rich architecture are increasingly falling into disrepair as preservation efforts struggle against time, urban pressure, and complex ownership disputes.
Once the grand residences of Mughal-era nobility, the Indian capital's palace-like homes, locally known as Havelis, now stand at a fragile crossroads. A handful lovingly restored, but many more sliding quietly into ruin. Across Old Delhi, cracked facades, shattered gateways and sagging balconies tell the story of a heritage under siege. These palace-like structures with the intricately carved doors, choroka balconies and sprawling courtyards were once symbols of wealth, power and artistry, reflecting centuries of Delhi's rich cultural and architectural history. Today, however, the story is one of decay and neglect. For families like the Mathurs, preserving a Haveli is a labor of love. Ashok Mathur, 56, has lived in Mathur Ki Haveli for 5 generations.
So this house is touching about 130 plus years now, and you see that we haven't touched much of the architecture. We haven't disturbed much of the architecture except for the repairs that we keep doing it for maintaining it. And it's been a house for about 5 generations now for us.
While a few Havelis have been lovingly restored, the majority are succumbing to time, urban sprawl and complex ownership disputes that stall preservation efforts. Conservationist K.T. Ravindran says that many such Havelis suffer from unclear titles and multiple claimants.
It is in a condition of deterioration. That certainly is so, because not much investment has gone into the old city. All the investment is hogged by the new part of the city. Most Indian cities have this dichotomous condition of an old city and a new city. So all the investment, the new capital that flows into the city goes to the new part of the city, and the old part stays neglected.
It is also warned that without targeted restoration programs, legal clarity for ownership and public awareness, many Havelis could vanish, taking with them a tangible link to India's rich past.
Well, the selective restoration is actually becomes like a catalyst in the process of change, because people see that if this can be improved, why not my place? So they start thinking in terms of improvement, and that can actually kind of snowball into a larger movement.
Beyond the legal and financial hurdles, the physical upkeep of Havelis is itself a challenge. Residents who continue to live in these homes often must balance modern living needs with preservation, repairing roofs, replacing beams, and maintaining decorative details, all while keeping the spirit of the original architecture intact.
To futuristic innovation, South Korea is embracing artificial intelligence in entertainment with a new robot-themed park in Seoul, showcasing humanoid performances and immersive AI experiences. South Korean entertainment company Galaxy Corporation has launched a robot-themed park in Seoul featuring humanoid robot boxing matches, AI-powered performances, and K-pop dance shows as the country expands its push into next-generation entertainment and robotics technology. The newly opened facility combines interactive exhibits, live robot demonstrations, and immersive digital attractions, offering visitors a glimpse into what developers describe as a future where humans and robots coexist more closely in daily life. The park's attractions include robots performing choreographed dance routines, engaging in mock combat sports, and interacting directly with audiences through artificial intelligence systems designed to simulate conversation and emotional responses. Organizers say the concept blends education with entertainment to make advanced technology more accessible to younger audiences. Company officials say the project reflects rising commercial interest in integrating AI and robotics into mainstream entertainment industries, particularly in South Korea, where investment in emerging technologies has accelerated in recent years. Nature takes center stage in Turkey, where local Duden Lake has transformed into a thriving habitat hosting nearly 40,000 birds from 180 species as recent rainfall restored water levels and revived the surrounding ecosystem.
Turkey's Duden Lake is currently hosting nearly 40,000 migratory birds from around 180 different species. Known among locals as a flamingo paradise, the lake has become a vibrant refuge for wildlife following recent rainfall that significantly increased water levels and revived the surrounding ecosystem. Striking images of the migratory birds inhabiting the lake captured, including large flocks of flamingos, often referred to in Anatolia as the crimson cranes. In addition to flamingos, the lake provides shelter for numerous bird species such as the white-headed duck, pied avocet, ferruginous duck, and Mediterranean gull. Covering an area of approximately 860 kilometers, the lake is fed by the Degirmenazu stream and serves as a crucial breeding, feeding, and resting habitat for migratory birds traveling along regional migration routes.
Continuing Asia's cultural celebrations, thousands gathered in Hong Kong for the annual Tin Hau Birthday Parade, a centuries-old tradition featuring vibrant dragon processions and community festivities.
Thousands of residents and visitors lined the Hong Kong streets of as the annual Tin Hau Birthday Parade returned to mark the birthday of Tin Hau, one of the most important traditional festivals in the southern Chinese communities. The parade, a long-standing cultural tradition in Yuan Long, was led by a 38-meter golden dragon weaving through the district's main roads. Festival participants and spectators reached out to touch the dragon, a gesture believed to bring prosperity, good health, and blessings for family and children. Following closely behind was a large raisin dragon presented by the Junior Police Call campaign, using the traditional display to promote anti-fraud awareness messages to the public. The colorful procession attracted large crowds along the route, with many residents gathering early to watch the celebrations. Organizers said 33 teams took part in this year's parade, including rural fireworks groups and community organizations from across Yuan Long. The annual Tin Hau Festival falls on the 23rd day of the third lunar month in the Chinese calendar and is widely observed by fishing and coastal communities. The yuan-long procession has been held since 1963 as part of traditional prayers for favorable weather, safety, and abundant harvests.
As we wrap up this week's edition, Vietnam's Da Nang has emerged as one of Asia's top summer destinations for 2026, further strengthening its position on the global tourism map. Da Nang has been ranked second on Lonely Planet's list of the best destinations in Asia for the summer of 2026, highlighting the Vietnamese coastal city's growing international tourism appeal. Da Nang has been enlisted alongside several major Asian destinations, including Busan, Bali, Almaty, Sendai, and Mongolia's Altai Mountains. According to Lonely Planet, June is considered the ideal time to visit Da Nang, known for its coastline, beaches, and resort destinations in central Vietnam. Da Nang's latest recognition further strengthens its position on the international tourism map, particularly in beach tourism, luxury resorts, and outdoor travel experiences, as Vietnam continues to attract growing numbers of regional and international visitors. Well, this brings us to the end of this episode of The World This Week. We hope you enjoyed as much as we did bringing it to you. Also, do follow us on our website www.nepaltelevision.com, our social media handles, as well as our YouTube channel. We shall see you again next week with a new episode. Till then, take care and bye-bye.
When it's a sunny day and the rain is pouring down, when it's a sunny day and the rain is pouring down, the fox's fiance puts on her wedding gown. The fox's fiance puts on her wedding gown. When it's a sunny day and the rain is pouring down, when it's a sunny day and the rain is pouring down, it's time for the fox to tie all his locks. It's time for the fox to tie all his locks and get hitched with Miss Fox, and get hitched with Miss Fox. Together with his sweetheart, he sits in a golden cart. Together with his sweetheart, he sits in a golden cart, and a big lizard dressed like a wizard becomes a priest, and he says, the two of you shall not part. The two of you shall not part. The elephant trumpets and the deer drums. The raccoons shake their rattles, and his guitar the tiger's drums, and his guitar the tiger's drums.
music all over the world is I think it's a universal language, and basically when it comes to musicians like us, we really get connected when somebody or from some part of music from different part of the world can go well together, and we can do so many different things, because we come from different culture, we come from different perspectives in life,
So we started jamming together, and then we were asked to play a festival at the Pathan Museum called the Namlo Music Festival, Music and Heritage Festival, I believe it was called. And so we were asked to do that, and I said, okay, I'll put together a band with Prince. And then he called his old buddies from when he grew up jamming with them. I would play a bluegrass tune, and then they would say, oh, that sort of goes like this Nepali tune. And we would just go from one to the other, and then I would show them my songs, and we would do that. So that was 3 years ago now.
Joy and Prince has already said about it. Actually, they both first met each other. I mean, Joy knew Prince's father back in the US, and I was a struggling musician in Kathmandu, and I was friend with Mr. Prince Nepali, and we used to play in some other different bands as well. And once Joy and Prince, they both met, and Prince was like, are you interested in doing something new, something different rather than rock and pop music? What about some fusions and bluegrass and folk music? And he challenged me like, do you want to do it or not? And I was like, okay, I'm up for it. And then actually it's that kind of story.
Actually, I'm planning like I haven't done any like production or anything like this with this instrument, so I'm actually planning for like trying to fuse a different instrument and get some production of different like percussion instrument and our traditional composition. Not just Tibet, there are also different instruments like chi, ta, and different folk instruments as well. So I think. Also, I'm planning like to get collaborated with different folk artists and the traditional drummers to bring them together and then make some compositions or just play already composed things and then just make out some videos and then share it with maybe on some social platforms like this.
The music that we are doing right now is like a crossover between American bluegrass music and Nepali folk music. And actually, first of all, we came up with an idea of just playing with each other, just jamming together. And we found out that, okay, so this could work very nicely together. So I'm using like a traditional instrument, sarangi, and we're combining this with the mandolin that comes from the US and the bluegrass music. And I think my idea is basically to present it like my folk culture and my traditional songs, and also like go together with the American music. I've been very fortunate and blessed to be born in such like musical family. So being a fourth generation, I think I never felt the pressure. First of all, because I enjoyed what I was doing, and then more than that, I think it's basically the kind of fun that I have with music, and I think there's some different intimacy between me and music, So I really enjoyed what I was doing, and I really had great fun. So I've been working on different projects and trying to inspire the youth at the moment in my life. So I have this project called Sarangi Ghar, where I basically have like classes. We also have the store. We do produce sarangi, and I think it's also encourages me to explore with the instrument itself, and the culture itself, because it's so beautiful. And like Nepal being so rich in culture and tradition, I want to like collaborate with different artists, folk artists in Nepal, and all from the world actually, and create different kind of new music with different caste and ethnic groups here in Nepal. They also have their own traditional instruments, folk instruments, and I think you must like find a way to have fun with it actually, and then I think more than anything else actually, the youths can just enjoy what they have been like with the music itself, and I really actually want them to explore Nepali music more. Youth can basically have like an opportunity where they can just go explore, find an instrument. We have tungna, we have sarangi, we have many other instruments. Like if you go in the western part of Nepal, you have like far western part, you have hudke baza, and there's lots of binayo and everything. And I find panche baza is interesting as well. So everybody can explore like whatever interest they have. They don't have to take it very professionally. They can just enjoy with it actually. Himalayan Highway is like it's a music that's crossed between the Nepali folk and American bluegrass music. So today we'll be presenting mostly the fusion of like the instrumental thing, and we will be singing a few of our original songs. So yeah, I hope you'll enjoy.
चिसो हावासँग यो मेरो मनको भावनाहरूलाई सररा उडाइ लाग्यो चिसो हावासँग यो मेरो मनको चाहनाहरूलाई पानी परेको बादलहरू अझै पनि माथि माथि घामको न्यानो स्पर्शसँगै इन्द्रेणीको रङ्ग पनि त्यही सररा उडाइ लाग्यो चिसो हावासँग यो मेरो मनको भावनाहरूलाई सररा उडाइ लाग्यो चिसो हावासँग यो मेरो मनको चाहनाहरूलाई मन मेरो खुला आकाशै भरिएको छ जुन र ताराले आफ्नो खुसी यहाँ आफै खुसी उडी जान्छु हावा बनी सररा उडाइ लाग्यो चिसो हावासँग यो मेरो मनको भावनाहरूलाई सरर उडाइ लाग्यो चिसो हावासँगै हो मेरो मनको चाहनाहरूलाई मेरो मनको चाहनाहरूलाई मेरो मनको चाहनाहरूलाई
Actually, our first name was Manaslu Blue. The blue was for bluegrass, and then Manaslu was for Nepal. But then I was, about a year in, I was brainstorming with my parents, and our goal with the band is to bring it abroad. I come from my perspective of American folk music, and these guys bring their wonderful Nepali folk music. And I think the goal of the band is to share this amazing fusion and to show people especially how amazing Nepali folk music is and how much we can do these cross-cultural collaborations. But the thing about Manaslu Blue is that no one outside of Nepal knows the mountain Manaslu. So then I was thinking with my dad, and somehow we came to Himalayan Highway. Highway is a very American thing, and there are a lot of bluegrass bands, Blue Highway, Golden Highway, so it's a common name. And then we thought Himalayan to talk about Nepal and the region. Well, first of all, I just fell in love with Nepali culture. I love momos, I love dal bhat, I love it all. I love this beautiful country. We want to show more people the beautifulness of Nepal. I think that from my perspective, I love Nepali folk music, but in this country, sometimes people haven't valued it. They've looked to the West for other influences. And so one of our goals is to bring up Nepali folk and fusing it. We're not just doing pure folk music, but to show that this is a vibrant, evolving history and tradition that is still relevant today. And then I also think to people abroad, and especially to Nepalis, I want to show them that they can take their instruments and their culture and they can bring it to the world, and that it's so amazing. I mean, everyone who I know that maybe they don't know so much about Nepal, maybe the only thing they know is that Mount Everest is there. But then once they try a momo, once they hear some music, then they love it. And so we want to just share this music with more people and share the cross-cultural collaboration.
Cause all day I chugga
try to shove down all of the hurt, but sometimes at the end does it fade on the page, and my eyes just run a glaze. And I say, hallelujah, I'm on fire, I'm on fire. And I say, hallelujah, let it burn, let it burn. And I say, hallelujah, 'cause I can finally feel something instead of just nothing at all. And is there ever an end to this breathless whirlwind? Is there even a point of it all? 'Cause at the end of the day, we're just us back in the fray on this rugged, snowy road. And I say, hallelujah, I'm on fire, I'm on fire. And I say, hallelujah, let it burn, let it burn. And I say, hallelujah, 'cause I can finally feel something instead of just nothing at all. And I say, hallelujah, I'm on fire, I'm on fire. And I say, hallelujah, let it burn, let it burn. And I say, hallelujah, 'cause I can finally feel something instead of just nothing at all. There's a guy on the stage, and he's playing the guitar the wrong way around. And I also have to tell you that that's not his main instrument, in fact. His main instrument is the piano, but he also slays at the guitar. That's Mr. Enes Tamang.
Nowadays, I think many young generations, upcoming generations, like they are more over into like different. I mean, it doesn't mean to demean it, but people are more over into different kind of music rather than our own cultural music. And I think promoting like this, like promoting through our own traditional instrument like sarangi and tabla, and maybe fusing it. Of course, it's not like we don't utilize the Western culture. Also, we utilize it, but we should not forget like our own roots, our own culture. So yeah, I think it's important so that we could carry the legacy as well of our own musical instruments and our own culture as well. Our brand is like, it's like the main goal is to like, of course, promoting the folk culture, our own tradition and cultural music, and with a unique taste, of course, as mentioned earlier. And I want to encourage you all to do music, like never give up. Like in some point of life, like we are doing it as a professionally, and some people might be like demotivated, or they might be like in confusion also whether should they pursue the music as their career or not. But I suggest them just do it. I know there is going to be ups and downs, there is going to be struggle, a lot of struggles, but it's worth it. It's worth it. And yes, of course, don't forget to promote their own culture as we are doing. We just wrote a song like few days ago, and it was so random, and but it turned out so beautiful. It's called Samjana, and it's a Nepali, like Prince wrote it. It's a Nepali song, but we are fusing it with the American bluegrass thing. Recently, it's the favorite. Not because it's just written in few days ago, but it has a very good meaning.
Story चाहिँ childhood love story को बारेमा हो, जहाँ चाहिँ दुईजना साथीहरू चाहिँ एकदमै स्कुल टाइमको लभदेखि नै धेरै अगाडि बढिसकेपछि चाहिँ एउटा पोइन्टमा चाहिँ जुन चाहिँ केटी साथी हुन्छ ऊ चाहिँ 4-5 वर्षको लभ पछि चाहिँ हराउँछ र त्यो हराएको बेलामा चाहिँ केटाले चाहिँ धेरै थुप्रै प्रयासहरू गर्छ खोज्नलाई चाहिँ तर कहिले पनि भेट्न सक्दैन र पछि हिँड्दै जाँदाखेरि चाहिँ अब 5 इयर्स पास भइसकेपछि चाहिँ अगाडि गएर हिँड्दै बाटोतिर हिँड्दाखेरि चाहिँ उसले झसङ्ग एकजना चिनेको अनुहार देख्छ है अनि चिनेको अनुहार देख्दाखेरि चाहिँ उसलाई चाहिँ अब उसले पहिला भेटेको मान्छे चाहिँ अलिकति चेन्ज भएको रहेछ तर अगाडि जानलाई चाहिँ ऊ अगाडि बढिसकेको हुन्छ तर त्यहाँ चाहिँ एउटा सानो बच्चाले चाहिँ त्यो केटीको हात समाएर हिँडिरहेको हुन्छ जुन चाहिँ उसको छोरी हुन्छ केटा चाहिँ अब अगाडि बढ्न सक्दैन र त्यहाँबाट चाहिँ यो गीतको सुरुवात हुन्छ सम्झना सम्झना
Well, there's one person who has actually the most microphones, but no vocal mic. He's got a master's in tabla performance, and he's just an amazing percussionist, Mr. Yusuf Maharjan.
So right now I'm using these three stone instruments. So basically, this instrument on my left side is called dhime. So this is our traditional ethnic Newari instrument. It's from Kathmandu Valley itself. Unique sound, actually. It's very bass boosted, and it's one of the very important instrument for our Kathmandu Valley, and it's used in most of the festivals. Like, you will barely see a festival where there is no dhime instrument. So I think the instrument that holds too many emotions of this valley and this country, it should be shared and should be known to the world. And so speaking about this mandal and tabla, and also with the tabla, I would say like all of these three instruments these are one of the really old instrument of the world, I would say. Like, it's more than 1,000 years old instrument. So it's already like history living and the sounding of history, So I think it's really important that the Western music that's not even more than 500 years old is being too much exposed, and yet this more old and more dynamic instrument, not just dynamic, and also the compositions, the sound, the tonal quality, this instrument really needs highlight to the world. Yeah. At first, whatever generation is alive right now, so they must actually pass down this tradition and this instrument, how to play the instrument, how to blend this instrument with different musics that's available in the world right now, let's say. To be honest, I'm really proud right now because there is not too much like musicians who are promoting our own traditional music or our instruments. Lots of Nepali people and youngsters nowadays, like they are too much into Western music, and I'm not saying that's wrong, but I think along with the Western music, I think we should also try to share our Nepali culture, Nepali music. And so this is one of our initiatives to show the world like how can we fuse Nepali folk instruments music with the American bluegrass music, and show them the new taste, how they sound with the fusion of these two different music from different worlds.
Human beings have made drastic progress in the sector of handicrafts with the development of civilization from the Stone Age until the 21st century. These include and are not limited to works of art, sculptures, wood and metal crafts. These handicrafts have also found religious, historic, cultural and archaeological acceptance and significance. Religious texts have identified the attraction of human settlements in the mountainous region of Nepal, which has always remained an independent sovereign nation. Ramapithecus human remains found in Butwal of West Nepal clarifies that human settlement had begun in Nepal more than 10 million years ago. We find historic references of works of handicrafts made by those living in this region. Such Nepali handicrafts are artistic and useful, therefore also successful in gaining international appreciation. Instead of the modern handicrafts, Nepal is well introduced in the international community by its traditional and historic works of art and craft. Millions of tourists who visit Nepal every year observe, study and relish the traditional handicrafts available at religious shrines. The high-quality woods brought from local forests are seasoned before being carved. Nepali woodcrafts are not only popular inside the country, but also have a demand abroad and therefore are exported. In addition to sculptures of gods and goddesses, artistic doors and windows, among other furniture, are made from wood in Nepal. Best examples of Nepali woodcraft can be taken as the artistic carvings at palaces, temples and other religious shrines in Kathmandu, Lalitpur and Bhaktapur. The 6th century woodcraft present at Rudravarna Mahavihar in Okubahal of Lalitpur is considered the oldest. Nepali woodcraft continues to thrive with the creativity, dedication and effort of trained artists. Artist Punyaraj Tuladhar, popular around the world, shares his experience. Lalitpur is popular around the world for its metal craft in Nepal. Works of metal craft produced here had a great demand in countries including Bhutan, Japan, China and European nations. Metal statues are developed using two methods in Nepal: repose art and lost wax process, both widely popular around the world. Repose art is a metalworking technique in which a malleable metal, silver, copper and brass among others, is shaped by hammering from the reverse side to create a design in low relief. Small sheets of metal are cut based on required measurement to form different organs of statues before being welded together. Designs and patterns are then carved into the structure. Gold is plated in some works such as metalcraft as well. Such metal sheets are also used in the roof of temples and other religious shrines. Most of such sculptures are made from the stones found in local hills, including Hattiban, Machegao, Tika Bhairav, Godavari and Kharpa, among others. Senior artist Dharmaraj Shakya says that Nepal's stone art has a unique identity. Of the stone sculptures found so far, a sculpture of King Jaya Varma found in Harigaon and currently conserved at National Museum in Chhaoni is considered to be the oldest historic sculpture. Likewise, sculptures in Changu installed by King Mandev, another found in Tilganga near Pashupati, a sculpture of Vishnu Vikrant in Lazimpat, and the one at Budhanilkantha are also considered historic. Sculpture of Birupaksha Kirateshwar Mahadev at Pashupati Aryaghat, Vishwaroop at Changu, Garud Sayan Vishnu sculpture, Palanchuk Bhagwati, Gazalakshmi of Lalitpur, Chashal Hiti and Krishna Mandir of Patan, among others, are considered the best stone sculptures of Nepal. Terracotta sculptures and masks, among other artworks, are made from clay. Terracotta works are thought to have been in existence in Nepal from a long time. According to historians and archaeologists, terracotta works found during a recent excavation administered by the Department of Archaeology were from the 2nd century BC. In recent practices, terracotta works are made before the development of metal sculptures. Different goods used in daily life are made from terracotta works. In addition to the sculptures of religious figures, products such as cups and plates, among other utensils, are also made from terracotta technique, while they are sold in domestic and foreign markets as well. Artists who have been working with terracotta for ages live in Thimi of Bhaktapur, Dang and Kapilvastu. Popular artist Gopal Kalapremi says the creativity and dedication of Nepali artists has been uplifting terracotta works in and outside of Nepal. Pauba art is made in the Kathmandu Valley and is considered as a traditional art form. This form of art is known as Thanga in Tibet. In Tibetan language, documentation and archives of gods and goddesses is called Thanku or Thanga. In this form of art, color from natural minerals is used to paint the pictures of religious figures on cloth. The large figure of main god and goddesses is placed at the center, while remaining gods and goddesses are placed in relatively smaller figures at the other parts. The background of this form of art includes different kinds of flowers, clouds, trees, and birds and animals. An artwork of Ratnasambhav Buddha conserved at the County Museum in Los Angeles of the United States of America is considered to be the oldest Paubha art, which was developed in the 13th century. The Amitabha Buddha art of the 13th century, also at the County Museum alongside Vishnu Mandala of 1420, and the 19th century's Sahas Bhujalokeshwar saved at the National Museum in Chhaoni, are considered to be Nepal's best Paubha artworks. The demand of Paubha artworks is increasing in Nepal and the foreign market. Popular and senior artist Lok Chitrakar says continuous efforts of talented artists has helped increase the popularity of Nepali Paubha art. Nepali handicrafts have established a significant position in the international community for their traditional, religious, social, historic and archaeological richness. Nepal Academy of Fine Arts has been conducting significant tasks in regards to conservation, promotion and development of Nepali handicrafts. Active involvement of experienced, skilled and talented artists, along with their devotion and sacrifices, have been rejuvenating Nepali handicrafts and helping establish a unique and superior identity of Nepal in the international community.
a majestic destination blessed by cultural, religious, historic, and natural diversities. Nepal is the country of Mount Everest and the birthplace of Lord Gautama Buddha. Karnali is synonymous to Nepal. One can experience the diversity of Nepal by visiting Karnali province. It is a must-go destination for those who want to experience the real Nepal. Karnali, that represents Nepal's age-old civilization, is in itself mesmerizing. The province has immense tourism potential with its unique natural, religious, cultural, archaeological, and historic diversity. The famous tourist destinations in the province have played an important role in representing Nepal at the international level. Tourism can be the base for prosperity of Karnali region based on its immense prospects. Lakes, water bodies, and famous religious sites are the major attractions for tourists in this province. Rara Lake, Sefoksundu Lake, Bulbule Lake, Chayanath, Dai Lake, Sinja Valley, Humla. This is Rara. Rara is the largest lake in Nepal. The lake is situated at Chayanath Rural Municipality of Mugu District in the Rara National Park. The unique lake is not just known for the different species of rare fishes and the musk ducks, but also for the changing color as per the climatic condition. Many foreign tourists come here to witness the camouflage of this majestic lake. a virgin destination a few years back. Now, more than 50,000 tourists flock the Rara Lake every year, and the number is constantly on the rise. Land and air are the two means to reach Rara Lake. You can reach Rara in a day from Kathmandu by air. From Trivandrum International Airport, Kathmandu to Nepalganj, and another flight from Nepalganj to Talcher Airport in Mugu is the easiest option. However, from Talcher, it is another 3 hours uphill walk to reach the breathtaking Rara Lake. If you choose land travel, it might take up to 3 days. A day's travel from Kathmandu to Surkhet, an overnight stay. Manma, the district headquarters of Kalikot, from Surkhet, an overnight stay. And on the 3rd day, you can reach the Rara Lake. You need not walk if you choose this route for Rara Lake. Humla is a very remote Himalayan district of Nepal bordering Mugu. It has great touristic importance. Many pilgrims who want to go to the mythical Kailas mountain via Mansarovar take the journey via Humla district. Tourists, mainly Indian pilgrims, travel to Mansarovar, one of the largest pure water bodies at the highest altitude in the world, for religious purposes. This is the shortest and the most convenient route for the pilgrims. Most of the pilgrims traveling to Mansarovar choose air trip up to Simikot of Humla from Nepalganj. From Simikot, helicopter trip up to Hilsa, from where they enter Chinese autonomous region of Tibet. One day's drive from entering Tibet, the pilgrims reach Mansarovar. The Kimi Valley of Humla is another new tourist destination in the district. Ancient idols of archaeological importance and the monasteries have given it a new name, the Valley of Monasteries. These priceless statues, sculptures, and artifacts are the major attractions in the valley. Majority of the tourists visiting Karnali are the pilgrims from India. Culturally, the people of the Karnali region believe in multi-deity worship, but majority pay homage to their ancestral deity, the Master God. The famous ritual of worshipping 12 Master deities has become a popular subject for researchers and tourists alike. Karnali is a majestic land, naturally as well as culturally. It has religious and cultural heritages in abundance. It offers attractions for tourists of varying interests. Somewhat deprived in education, health, and employment. Karnali's tourism potential, due to its unique and diverse nature, geography, religion, culture, history, and archaeology, is unexplored. Many potential tourist destinations have yet to be explored in this region. So far, 101 destinations in the region have been branded as of touristic importance. Of the 101, 13 are under federal government, 9 under province government, and 79 under local levels. Karnali might lack top-class infrastructures including roadways, hotels, or communications, but many destinations attract adventure tourists. Likewise, medicinal herbs like Yarsagumba, Kali Marsi paddy, millet and barley fields attract tourists when in full bloom. Some of the best organic dishes on offer you might find Kali Marsi paddy, honey, broad beans, dry apple, marfa, barley, sipped wool products as the gifts of Karnali. Whitewater rafting in the 5th best river in the world, Karnali, and very tall and majestic Kanjirova, Patarasi and Cisne mountains, open for expedition, challenge mountaineers and explorers alike. Karnali is also known as the origin of civilizations, including language, literature, art, and culture. It's a pure and revered land. It has a lot to offer to researchers and explorers. Surkhet, the provincial headquarters of Karnali, is the gateway to most of the tourist destinations. Karnali Highway connects some of the destinations, including Kotgadi, Panchadeval, Bilaspur, Mahabu area in Delhi. Pachal waterfall in Kalikot, Sinja Valley and the Dul Monastery of Jumla, and Rara Lake of Mugu. Very few destinations of Mugu and Jumla have road access. On the other hand, many budget travelers are not encouraged to traveling in Karnali, as it is relatively expensive due to unavailability of road network. It is a must-go destination for those who want to experience the real Nepal.
Russian President Vladimir Putin arrived in China on Tuesday for a two-day official visit shortly after US President Donald Trump's recent trip to Beijing. According to multiple reports, Putin traveled to meet Chinese President Xi Jinping to reinforce the no-limit strategic partnership between Moscow and Beijing. During the talks, the two leaders were expected to discuss expanding economic cooperation, energy trade, and coordination on major global issues, including the ongoing Russia-Ukraine conflict. They also prepared to sign a joint declaration reaffirming bilateral ties. The visit highlighted China's growing role in Russia's key economic and diplomatic partner amid Western sanctions, while both sides emphasized long-term strategic alignment in a shifting global order. Sanae Takaichi and Lee Jae-myung had agreed to strengthen cooperation on energy security during talks in South Korea, as both countries face growing concerns over instability in the Middle East. Takaichi said the two nations had outlined a framework to reinforce energy stockpiles across the Asia-Pacific region and enhance supply chain cooperation, including on critical minerals. The discussions came amid rising tensions following Iran's effective closure of Strait of Hormuz, a key global oil transit route that has unsettled international energy markets. Japan imports about 95% of its oil from the Middle East, while South Korea relies on the region for around 70% of its crude supplies. The leaders also discussed cooperation in space technology, biohealth, and regional security, including challenges posed by North Korea.
北朝鮮については核・ミサイル問題を含む北朝鮮への対応について議論を行い、日韓米で緊密に連携して対応していくことを改めて確認しました。その他、新たな課題であり、また機会でもある AI や重要性が増している経済安全保障全般について、日韓が共に強く 豊かになるため、互恵的な協力を推進していくことを目指し、関係当局間で議論を続けていくことを確認しました。
Meghan Markle, Duchess of Sussex, inaugurated an exhibition titled Lost Screen Memorial alongside Tedros Adhanom Ghebreyesus in Geneva ahead of the 79th World Health Assembly. The installation, composed of illuminated smartphones, had been dedicated to 50 children who lost their lives due to harms linked to social media. Markle stressed that the issue went beyond technology and into child safety concerns.
And thank you, Dr. Tedros, not simply for your leadership at the World Health Organization, but for your clarity in recognizing that this is not simply a technology issue. It is a public health issue, and a human one. Behind us stands the Lost Screen Memorial. Not statistics, not avatars, not data points. Children. Each name belonged to a child who was loved beyond measure. A child whose laughter once filled a kitchen, whose shoes once waited by a front door, whose future once felt limitless. And now their faces ask the world questions we can no longer avoid. How many more millions of children will be harmed by products that, while innovative, are still designed without sufficient safeguards? And when will children be able to enjoy the extraordinary potential of technology without it compromising their well-being?
Starbucks Korea dismissed its chief executive Song Jin-hyun following public outrage over a promotional campaign linked to the anniversary of 1980 Gwangju pro-democracy uprising. The controversy erupted after the company used the phrase Tank Day to market reusable tank tumblers launched on May 18, a date marking the deadly military crackdown on protesters in Gwangju. Critics said the wording evoked the military tanks used during the suppression of the uprising, which left hundreds dead or missing. South Korean President Lee Jae-myung condemned the campaign, calling it disrespectful and inhumane. Starbucks Korea later issued a formal apology and pledged to improve employees' historical awareness and ethical standards through additional training. Vietnam's capital Hanoi significantly scaled back plans to ban petrol-powered motorbikes amid public opposition and infrastructure concerns. Authorities had initially proposed banning fuel-run bikes across a 26-square-kilometer area of the historic center to combat worsening air pollution, but the plan was later reduced to just 11 streets covering half a square kilometer. Even the smaller low-emission zone was set to apply only during weekends and Friday evenings, with implementation delayed beyond July. Motorbikes remained the backbone of transport in Vietnam, where nearly 7 million two-wheelers crowded Hanoi's streets. Riders cited high costs, limited charging stations, and safety concerns over electric bikes, while analysts say the government's retreat highlighted the challenges of shifting to cleaner transport despite rising pollution levels. In the Appalachian foothills of West Virginia, beekeepers like Roy Funkhauser have been grappling with severe challenges as American honeybee colonies face record losses. Funkhauser, who should have managed around 1,200 hives, reported operating fewer than 200 this year, citing rising threats from parasitic varroa mites, viruses, pesticides, and environmental stress. Nationwide, beekeepers lost over half their colonies in the year leading up to April 2025, marking the highest record annual decline. The crisis has been linked to the spread of Varroa destructor mite, which weakens bees and spreads disease, threatening both honey production and crop pollination, including California's almond fields. The situation has further worsened by proposed federal agricultural research funding cuts of over $32 million, which have raised concerns about the possible closure of key USDA bee research facilities. Experts warn such losses could undermine efforts to protect pollination services vital to U.S. food security. Workers at Los Angeles SoFi Stadium had threatened to go on strike if federal immigration agents were deployed during upcoming FIFA World Cup matches. The Unite Here Local 11 Union, representing around 2,000 hospitality workers, had demanded guarantees U.S. Immigration and Customs Enforcement would not operate at the venue during the tournament. Workers say ICE presence will create fear for both employees and fans, and they also raised concerns over FIFA's accreditation process, which required personal data submission ahead of the event. Protesters gathered outside the stadium calling for ICE to be excluded from the tournament, with the issue drawing political attention and support from some public figures. The dispute reflected wider tensions over immigration enforcement in the U.S. ahead of the 2026 FIFA World Cup, jointly hosted by the U.S., Canada, and Mexico. A mass wedding event was held in Tehran amid rising regional tensions, combining traditional marriage ceremonies with strong patriotic displays. The program, called Sacrifice for Iran, brought together around 1,000 couples linked to the state-backed Jan Fada initiative. Iranian authorities organized simultaneous ceremonies across multiple locations in Tehran on Monday evening, including a gathering for 110 couples at Imam Hossein Square. State-affiliated media promoted the event as the celebration of the Celestials, featuring national flags, portraits, and symbolic displays. Officials presented the campaign as evidence of strong public support for the government. However, the initiative also faced criticism online, with skeptics questioning participation figures and alleging that the program's statistics were inflated. Cuc Phuong National Park in Vietnam entered its peak butterfly season in April and May, when hundreds of species filled the forests and created a vibrant natural display. The seasonal phenomenon attracted around 3,000 to 5,000 visitors daily as butterflies gathered along humid and swampy forest trails during their breeding cycle. Forest rangers explained that the insects were drawn to mineral-rich swamp areas that supported their feeding habits. They say the diversity of plant life directly supports the large variety of butterfly species. Officials also noted that the mass appearance of butterflies reflected strong biodiversity and healthy ecological balance within one of Vietnam's oldest protected forests. The Chelsea Flower Show has returned to London, attracting more than 150,000 visitors to the Royal Horticultural Society's flagship gardening event. Organized by the Royal Horticultural Society, the exhibition features over 30 competing gardens, showcasing both traditional and modern designs. Aphrodite's hothouse stood out as a bold and controversial installation, described as a theatrical pleasure garden, exploring themes of love and desire through floral displays. Other gardens had focused on sustainability, regeneration, and community use, with some designs set to be relocated after the show. A calm children's society garden offered a space for reflection, while several exhibits highlighted coastal planting, recycled materials, and ecological innovation. Held at the Royal Hospital, Chelsea, the historic event continued its legacy of creativity and also featured royal involvement, including a garden linked to King Charles III.
Only after 6 decades of the institutional development of the now popular game of cricket did Nepal get the opportunity to play in the World Cup. Although cricket was introduced in Nepal during the Rana regime, the sport was confined to a limited number of people, namely the elite. It all started with equipment brought by students returning from their studies in Britain and India. Although Cricket Association of Nepal (CAN) was established in 1947, cricket remained centered among a few affluent individuals and in limited tournaments for a long time. Starting with the Bishnu Trophy in 1948, tournaments were limited to competitions like the Madan Memorial Sealed, Jugal Kishore Trophy, Rammani Trophy, and later the Jai Trophy. Even as the sport expanded outside Kathmandu Valley, it took decades for cricket to develop at the grassroots level. After the International Cricket Council (ICC) granted Nepal affiliate membership in 1988, Nepali cricket embarked on its international journey. The rule of mandatory participation in tournaments by the ICC and the Asian Cricket Council (ACC) opened doors to international competition for Nepal. After participating in the Under-19 Asian tournament in Hong Kong in 1996, Nepal has not looked back. Winning titles at the Asian and global levels, Nepali cricket team continues its journey towards the pinnacle of world cricket.
Goes down the ground because he was given that line outside off stump. So the first boundary of the contest, a handsome one.
Initially confined to Tunikale in Kathmandu, many international tournaments were hosted in Nepal after an international standard ground was built in Kirtipur. Nepal has also shown its proactiveness in differently abled cricket tournaments like the T20 World Cup for the blind in 2012 and the Asian Cricket Tournament for the deaf. Nepali women's national cricket team has also achieved remarkable success in a short period of time. The latest addition in Nepali cricket is the floodlit Tribhuvan University Cricket Stadium and the Nepal Premier League that has provided opportunity for Nepali players to rub shoulders with world-class players.
Hello and welcome to The Perspective on NTV World. I'm Sabika Shrestha, your host for the program. From major headlines to the issues behind them, we break down the week's top stories and explore how they are shaping the path forward. This week's episode includes Parliament advancing key ordinances ahead of the national budget, Gen Z consultations on possible constitutional reforms, Nepal's major federal ministry restructuring, Bagmati province downsizing and Lumbini province joining the nationwide administrative reform drive. Nepal's government is moving to secure parliamentary approval for all 8 ordinances introduced earlier this year, with plans to table them in both houses of the federal parliament during the ongoing budget session. The ordinances are scheduled to be presented in the National Assembly on May 21, while preparations are underway to introduce them in the House of Representatives through an emergency agenda. The parliamentary calendar also outlines key discussions ahead of the national budget announcement for fiscal year 2026-27 on May 29, including debates on government policies, pending bills and pre-budget priorities. Here are the details. The 8 ordinances will be presented in the National Assembly meeting scheduled for May 21 for the endorsement. In the meantime, preparations are underway to present these ordinances in the budget session of the House of Representatives as well through an emergency agenda. The lower house is slated to start its session on May 18th and the set agenda for May 18, 19 and 20 includes discussions and question-answer sessions on the government's policies and programs.
It is planned to endorse these ordinances by May 21 first. On May 21, there is an agenda to present a proposal for consideration of the National Forensic Science Laboratory Establishment Bill 2081 as well as the Alternative Development Finance Mobilization Bill 2082, and on May 26, there is a schedule for clause-wise discussion on the Science Laboratory Bill. Similarly, in the House of Representatives meeting on May 27, the Economic Survey for the fiscal year 2026-27 will be presented. On the same day, there is also an agenda to present a proposal for consideration of the Film Bill 2081.
राष्ट्रिय सभाबाट यो बीचमा जुन 19औं र 20औं अधिवेशनबाट पारित भएका विधेयकहरूलाई पनि यही बीचमा समावेश गरेर अघि बढाउने छ र अध्यादेशको सवालमा चाहिँ अहिले कार्यतालिकामा प्रतिनिधि सभाले जुन पहिलो बैठकमा प्रस्तुत भएका जुन जति पनि अध्यादेशहरू छन् 8 वटा त्यसलाई कुन दिन त्यसलाई समावेश गर्ने भन्ने यो टुङ्गो गरेर चाहिँ अहिले कार्यतालिका प्रकाशन गरेको देखिदैन तर सदनको त्यो बिजनेसको लोड हेरेर र सम्बन्धित मन्त्रीसँग समन्वय गरेर यही बीचमा यो सायद 15 गते अगावै यो जुन अध्यादेशहरूलाई पनि टुङ्गोमा लग्ने छ.
The Parliament Secretariat has made public legislative work schedule up to mid-June with the federal budget for the upcoming fiscal year 2026-27 set to be announced on May 29. As per the schedule, the Finance Minister is slated to present the annual revenue and expenditure estimates in a joint session of the Federal Parliament as constitutionally mandated. Parliament meetings before the budget announcement will focus on discussions related to pre-budget preparations, government policies, and pending legislative business. According to this published schedule, discussions on various topics of the upcoming fiscal year's budget will begin from June 1st. The 0 hour of Parliament has been kept intact for expressing views on contemporary issues. The Parliament Secretariat also has stated that emergency time may also be provided depending on the seriousness of the subject matter. Even if not included in the agenda, time will be provided if requested by the leader of the opposition parties, former Prime Minister and former speakers.
For more insight into this issue, we are joined virtually on The Perspective by economist Dr. Neeraj Paudel for an interview. Welcome to NTV World, sir.
Thank you very much.
Nepal is preparing a budget of nearly rupees 1.9 trillion amid a slowing economy. What should be the government's top priority in this year's budget?
There are two important issues that needs to be addressed. The first problem is the low economic growth track. So we are in a situation where we cannot achieve growth rate more than 5% for a long time period. So our average growth rate has remained in between 4 to 5% for last 30 years. So that needs to be resolved. We need to break out of that low growth regime and aim for growing at 6 to 7% in next decade. So to basically, especially to address the inspirations, the dreams that our youths have been talking about, thinking about. That is one problem, to get out of the low growth regime. And the other issue that this government needs to tackle and starts to immediately work on it is the fiscal imbalance that has been growing significantly in last 10-20 years. The imbalance is reflected in how the recurrent expenditure, for example, relative to capital expenditure, has been growing as a share of its total expenditure.
So every year Nepal announces ambitious budgets, but capital expenditure and project implementation remains weak. Why does this problem continue?
There are many things. I think, some of the things the government has already started to address. And I would say Nepal has already, despite, being a low-income country, we have already, gathered a lot of experience implementing and running huge, mega projects. Manchi is one such project. It's a huge project. It took so much time, it took so much budget, but we learned from that. So we need to consult with those involved in such projects, why, things were delayed, and the number of laws we have, formulated in past decades has also skyrocketed. Actually, it's very difficult for producers, for those who are working in these construction projects, to keep track of all these laws and regulations. There are, many regulations related to forest. There are regulations related to import duties. There are regulations related to, for example, raw materials. So that has to be addressed. That has to be made a little bit easier for people to work on. And another thing is, I think our government, has spread. It has become like, it has started, working on almost everything. And if you try to like work on every sector that you can see, your efficiency, your effectiveness goes down. So the government should prioritize which are the sectors that it needs to focus.
Mr. Paudel, as we can see, a private sector confidence and investment activity have slowed in recent months. So what immediate reforms are needed to revive the economy and encourage investment?
Everywhere in the world, private sector is incentivized by, profit motives. Okay. Consumers are incentivized to spend, to, consume when they see, less risk in terms of, future stream of their income. Okay. So if they see that there is a little risk that they will lose job, they will confidently consume, they will confidently spend. Similarly, firms, corporations, companies would feel confidence to invest when they see, there is a chance that they would be able to earn enough profit, okay, with less risk. And that has, it has been going on for a very long time. It's not just like these couple of months that, private sectors has not been actually, encouraged really well. Not just by the government, even among the public, there is a, severe negative connotations attached to the private sectors. They are called exploiters, so-called. They are called capitalists, so-called. So there is the reputation of working in a private sector as a businessman has been damaged, and and that discourages investors to make investments, because there are other sectors that can give them the equal amount, the better needs that we need to ensure is, I think the recent months decline is basically because of the lack of security, lack of confidence among the private investors with regard to the safety of their private property. So the government needs to ensure that the profit earned is secured. Okay, so and the property of the private entrepreneurs, private citizens is secured. So if we can secure those two things, and if we can give the message to the economy, to the public, that the future is secure, there is less risk in the future of high volatility, high uncertainty is not likely to happen, that will, I think, slowly help to reboost, rebound the consumer confidence as well as investors' confidence.
Nepal still depends heavily on remittances, while production and exports remain very weak. So how can the upcoming budget help create a stronger production-based economy and jobs at home?
Yeah, I mean, I'm a little bit, not very optimistic in terms of Nepal's, productive base. It's not our fault. Okay, it's given by, our limits are set by our history and by our geography. Okay, if you want to work on developing your, production base on hardwares, for example, things that has weight. Okay, so you have to think about transportation cost, for example. Transportation cost in Nepal is excessively high. Okay, so for example, transportation cost in, if you transport your stuff through waterways, it's 10 times cheaper compared to transporting stuff through land. like plain land. I'm not talking about mountains. But if you transport through mountains, it's going to be like many more times expensive. So these are the things that Nepal will find very hard to overcome. Transportation cost is very high, and I'll remind the audience that the tax rate in Nepal is actually one of the highest in the region. Actually, it's almost the double. If you compare our tax rates with India and Bangladesh. So if you want to be competitive in terms of, attracting investment in productive sector, you have to reduce these costs of production. Like tax is a cost of production. And another thing is the corruption. Corruption is also adds on to the cost of the production. So these three are the major, cost of production that we need to work on reducing. Okay. And this cannot be done overnight. It takes a lot of time. Especially I'll focus on, not the heavy stuff. I'll focus on soft stuffs, like light stuffs like tourism, exporting tourism or exporting softwares. These do not require, transportation cost, So that might be one area where, Nepal could have a competitive advantage, and maybe the government can, think about encouraging those sectors even more.
Lastly, Mr. Paudel, as the government prepares the fiscal year budget, what major reforms or policy measures would economists like you want to see included?
Basically, I have, said like almost all the major, issues that government, needs to work on, to move on to the next, phase of our economic development, which is, I would call, high growth rate regime, which is, I'm not talking about 10% growth rate. I would not even recommend that high growth rate. Basically, growth rate around 7%. Another area that government needs to work on, which might be quite unpopular, given the, the perception people have with regard to the role of the government. But I would recommend government to, stop, or in other words, privatize the government enterprises. Government should not focus on producing, milk or producing this and that stuff like cement or shoes. It's not the duty of the government. That will only distract, the attention that the government needs to put on other sectors of the economy. But government needs to start, privatizing, start relying on the private sector to produce, so many things. It could be airlines, it could be, dairy products, it could be, the government is still running many, enterprises. So that has, I think, we have to move towards, privatizing those enterprises.
Thank you for your time and insights, sir.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
That was economist Dr. Neeraj Paudel explicating us more on the key priorities of the government. Now, a government-appointed task force preparing a discussion paper for a possible constitutional amendment has called on Gen Z representatives for a constructive dialogue. The invitation comes amid reported confusion ahead of scheduled talks, with officials urging all sides to engage positively. Task force coordinator Asim Saha said the objective is to incorporate suggestions from all stakeholders before finalizing the draft. He also clarified that previous agreements with the former government are currently in the implementation phase, and the formation of a Gen Z council has reached its final stage. The task force will collect inputs through both oral and written submissions during the consultation process. Nepal is undergoing a major administrative overhaul after the government reduced the number of federal ministries from 22 to 18. The major administrative restructuring is now underway under the new government of Nepal Work Division Regulations 2083. The revised framework published in the official gazette keeps 8 ministries unchanged while merging and reorganizing several others alongside the creation of a new Ministry of Science, Technology and Innovation. Under the changes, portfolios such as information technology, urban development, drinking water, physical infrastructure, agriculture, environment, and youth and sports have either been merged or redistributed across new structures. The government says the move is aimed at streamlining governance, reducing duplication, and improving administrative efficiency through a leaner cabinet structure. This latest overhaul continues a pattern of repeated ministerial reshuffles in Nepal since 2074 BS, when the number and structure of federal ministries have been revised multiple times. In a continuation of national-level downsizing, Bagmati province has moved to streamline its cabinet. On Tuesday, the provincial cabinet approved a reduction of ministries from 14 to 8 under a broader and reform plan. Minister Prabhat Tamang says several ministries were merged, but essential areas, internal affairs, economic planning, infrastructure, health, agriculture and environment remain intact. The government projects roughly 5 billion rupees in administrative savings to be channeled into capital development. The new arrangement becomes effective from July 17 and will stay in force until the close of the fiscal year. Lumbini province had joined the federal government's ongoing provincial restructuring by trimming its ministries and capping the cabinet at 8 portfolios to cut administrative costs. The move mirrors a wider trend toward slimmer governance across the country following recent national-level reforms. As Nepal's provincial administrative overhaul progresses, Lumbini has enacted its own changes. The provincial government will reduce the number of ministries and limit the cabinet to 8 members to lower the expenses. This decision aligns with a nationwide shift towards more streamlined federal governance. Here's the story.
Several provincial governments in Nepal are actively working to reduce the number of ministries in an effort to make administration more cost-effective and efficient. One of the most notable examples is Bagmati province, which has decided to reduce its ministries from 14 to 8. Similar restructuring efforts are being discussed or partially implemented in other provinces, including Lumbini province. The Lumbini provincial government has decided to reduce the number of ministries to 8 starting from the new fiscal year on 17th July. The province currently has 12 ministries, including the Office of the Chief Minister and Council of Ministers. The move aims to support administrative reform by reducing unnecessary expenses, improving efficiency, and making governance more effective and streamlined.
मन्त्रालयहरू कुन कसरी अगाडि बढ्छन् भन्ने बारेमा चाहिँ के भने मन्त्रालयको नामाकरण गर्ने गरी त्यो स्पिडका साथ आज चाहिँ के भने सरकारले यो निर्णय गरेको छ.
The provision to reduce the number of ministries will also be included in the policies and programs for the upcoming fiscal year 2083-84. In addition to restructuring ministries, the government is preparing to complete the adjustment of directorates and offices under various ministries between 29th June and 4 July. Under the new government, ministries with similar responsibilities are expected to be merged. Provincial Chief Minister Chet Narayan Acharya stated the decision was made to ensure faster, more transparent and more efficient public service delivery.
एकातिर खर्च व्ययता हुन्छ भने दोस्रो कुरो भनेको धेरै अब त्यो सुशासनको क्षेत्रमा र जनसेवा प्रवाहको क्षेत्रमा काम गर्नको निम्ति पनि त्यसले सजिलो बनाउँछ.
Lumbini province initially had only 7 ministries. However, during its first term, the number increased to as many as 17. The reduction in ministries is expected to cut administrative cost, speed up decision-making, minimize the duplication of work, improve efficiency, and streamline policy coordination.
That's all from the perspective for this week's edition. We'll be back next week with major updates. Stay tuned to NTV World.
dancing in the beats of Khaijari. These tireless young feet will not stop until the next morning. As every dawn brings along a dusk, and a hello has to end in a farewell note, it was time for us to say goodbye to Ramkot. The beat of the Madar and Khaijari constantly tried to hold us back even until we reached the faraway trails. It was hard to say goodbye when our heart wanted to stay, but then we had to move on.
Dr. Manoj Kumar Sharma, sworn in as the Chief Justice of Nepal, assumes top court role, pledging judicial integrity and professional ethics. Nepal government announces financial support for riverbank settlement, endorses key regulatory reforms including deputation and army service amendments. Nepal begins phased repayment to cooperative victims as thousands await return of savings. Relief process underway amid fragile trust. Congo battles Ebola outbreak as WHO holds global health talks including hantavirus. Officials warn of rising risks. Russian President Putin reaches China for two-day visit after Trump's Beijing trip. Two neighbors set to discuss trade, energy ties and war cooperation. And Neymar recalled to Brazil squad after nearly 3-year international absence. Fans celebrate as the new coach inducts the forward to World Cup. Hello there, I'm Sarah Sapsanamarai and this is News Hour on NTV World, coming to you live from Kathmandu at 2200 hours Nepal time. Nepal has appointed Dr. Manoj Kumar Sharma as the country's new Chief Justice following unanimous parliamentary approval and formal endorsement by President Ramchandra Paudel. Dr. Sharma took the oath of office and secrecy during a special ceremony held at the President's office in Kathmandu. President Paudel administered the oath shortly after officially appointing him to the post in accordance with Article 129 of Nepal's constitution based on the recommendation of the Constitutional Council. Before his appointment, Sharma, who previously served as a Justice of the Supreme Court, was unanimously endorsed by the Parliamentary Hearing Committee. During the parliamentary hearing, lawmakers questioned him about his judicial priorities and commitments regarding the administration of justice. Responding to the committee, Sharma pledged to uphold judicial integrity, professionalism and transparency while carrying out his responsibilities as Chief Justice. The swearing-in ceremony was attended by Vice President Ram Sahaya Prasad Yadav, Prime Minister Balendra Shah, Speaker Dol Prasad Aryal, National Assembly Chair Narayan Prasad Dahal, senior government officials and members of the diplomatic community. Following the ceremony, Chief Justice Sharma officially assumed office. Nepal's cabinet has approved financial assistance for families displaced from high-risk settlements along riverbanks in Kathmandu Valley. The meeting today also accepted a Swiss grant of 6.116 million Swiss francs for the Municipal Revenue Enhancement Project. Government spokesperson Sashmit Pokhrel said in legislative and regulatory matters, the cabinet endorsed the Deputation Regulations 2083 and the Army Service 6th Amendment Regulations 2083.
आज नेपाल सरकार मन्त्री परिषदको 2083 जेठ 5 गते बसेको बैठकहरुको मुख्य निर्णयहरु पढेर सुनाउँछु। नम्बर 1 मा अर्थ मन्त्रालयबाट नगरपालिका राजस्व अभिवृद्धि परियोजनाका लागि स्विजरल्यान्ड सरकारबाट प्राप्त हुने 6.116 मिलियन स्विस फ्र्याङ्क अनुदान स्वीकार गर्ने, अनिको राजमार्गको मर्मत सुधार गर्न चीन सरकारले प्रदान गर्ने 79.36 मिलियन आरएमबी अनुदान स्वीकार गर्ने। अर्को पूर्वाधार विकास मन्त्रालयबाट काठमाडौँ उपत्यका नदी किनारमा रहेका जोखिमयुक्त बस्ती हटाउँदा विस्थापित हुने व्यक्तिहरूको विवरण रुजु गरी प्रति परिवार पुनर्स्थापना खर्च बापत रु 25,000 एकमुष्ट रूपमा प्रदान गर्ने। जोखिममुक्त बस्तीबाट हटाइएकाहरूलाई वैकल्पिक बसोबासको व्यवस्था आफै गर्न प्रोत्साहित गर्न 5 सदस्य भएको प्रति परिवार राहत रकम रु 15,000 प्रति महिनाको र सो भन्दा बढी सदस्यका लागि प्रति सदस्य थप रु 2,000 प्रति महिनाको दरले हाललाई 3 महिनाका लागि बसोबास व्यवस्थापन खर्च उपलब्ध गराउने। वृद्ध, अशक्त, असहाय तथा आफ्नो व्यवस्थापन गर्न नसक्ने व्यक्ति तथा परिवारलाई तोकिएको होल्डिङ सेन्टरमा व्यवस्था गर्ने। बालबालिका तथा विद्यार्थीको पठन पाठन तथा विद्यालयको सुनिश्चितता र स्वास्थ्य सेवा सुविधाहरूको सुनिश्चितता स्थानीय तहको समन्वय तथा सहकार्यमा गर्ने। नम्बर 4 मा प्रत्याहार नियमावली 2083 स्वीकृत गर्ने। 5 मा सैनिक सेवा 6औं संशोधन नियमावली 2083 स्वीकृत गर्ने। 6 मा नेपाल राष्ट्र बैंक 2058 लाई संशोधन गर्न बनेको विधेयक संघीय संसदमा पेश गर्न स्वीकृति दिने। 7 मा नेपाल सरकार कार्ययोजना नियमावली 2083 अनुसार हुने गरी राजपत्राङ्गत विशिष्ट श्रेणीका सचिवको दरबन्दी मिलान गर्ने र पदस्थापन गर्ने। आजको मुख्य निर्णयहरू यिनै हुन्।
Nepal has begun returning deposits to victims of troubled cooperative institutions through a phased repayment system. Under the plan, depositors with savings below 10,000 Nepali rupees, which is about $75 will receive payments first. Those with deposits up to 500,000 rupees or around $3,700 will be paid in the second phase, while larger claims will be settled later. Around 76,000 depositors are waiting to recover approximately $340 million trapped in 20 problematic cooperatives. Many victims remain uncertain about when the money will finally reach them. More on this in our issue of the day later in the bulletin. Health officials are confronting growing concerns over infectious disease outbreaks in different parts of the world, highlighting the continuing global threat posed by emerging health crises. In the Democratic Republic of Congo, health authorities say at least 131 people have died in an Ebola outbreak, raising fears of wider regional transmission. Emergency response teams are working to contain the virus through surveillance, isolation measures, and community awareness campaigns. The outbreak comes as global leaders and health experts gather in Geneva for the 79th World Health Assembly. The annual meeting is focusing on strengthening pandemic preparedness, improving outbreak detection systems, and closing gaps in global health financing. Officials at the Assembly warn recent outbreaks demonstrate how quickly infectious diseases can spread across borders if health systems remain underprepared. We'll look at this in detail in our cover story of the day later. Now, Russian President Vladimir Putin reached China today for a 2-day official visit, shortly after U.S. President Donald Trump's recent trip to Beijing. During the talks, the two leaders are expected to discuss expanding economic cooperation, energy, trade, and coordination on major global issues, including the ongoing Russia-Ukraine conflict. They also prepared to sign a joint declaration reaffirming bilateral ties.
И в настоящее время российско-китайские отношения достигли действительно беспрецедентного уровня. Их особый характер проявляется в атмосфере взаимопонимания и доверия, готовности сотрудничать на обоюдовыгодных и равноправных началах, вести уважительный диалог, оказывать друг другу поддержку в вопросах, затрагивающих коренные интересы двух стран, включая защиту суверенитета и государственного единства. Поэтому мы приветствуем введение на взаимной основе безвизового режима между нашими странами. Это не только способствует активизации деловых и туристических обменов, но и открывает новые возможности для общения и налаживания контактов между гражданами России и Китая. Тесная российско-китайская стратегическая связка играет важную, стабилизирующую роль на мировой арене. При этом мы не дружим против кого-либо, а работаем на дело мира и всеобщего процветания. Именно
The visit highlights China's growing role as Russia's key economic and diplomatic partner amid Western sanctions, while both sides emphasize long-term strategic alignment in a shifting global order. Brazil's superstar Neymar made a dramatic return to Brazil's World Cup squad after nearly 3 years away from international football. New coach Carlo Ancelotti named the 34-year-old in his 26-man squad during a gala event in Rio de Janeiro, drawing huge cheers from fans.
Hicimos la evaluación de Neymar todo año y vimos que en ese último periodo él jugó con continuidad, que mejoró su condición física y pensamos que él es un jugador importante. Va a ser un jugador importante en esa Copa del Mundo. Él tiene el mismo papel, la misma obligación que todos los otros 25. Escogemos Neymar no porque pensamos que va a ser un buen reserva. Escogemos Neymar porque pensamos puede aportar y meter sus calidades para el.
Neymar is Brazil's all-time top scorer with 79 goals, last played for the national side in 2023 before suffering a serious knee injury during a qualifier against Uruguay. Now we're going for a short break here. After the break, thousands of Nepalese still waiting for money they trusted to cooperatives. Savings now frozen in failed firms across the country. As the government begins returning deposits in phases for many victims, uncertainty remains over when or if they will get their life savings back. Our issue of the day after this breather. You're watching NTV World and this is News Hour. Welcome back. Time now for our issue of the day. Nepal has begun returning savings deposits to victims of troubled cooperatives, with nearly 76,000 depositors waiting to about $340 million trapped in failed cooperatives. Although the government has started a phased repayment process for small savers, many victims remain uncertain about when they will finally receive their money. We have a report.
The government of Nepal has begun returning savings deposits to victims of troubled cooperatives institutions, offering hope to thousands of small savers who have waited years to recover their money. Large crowds gathered outside the office of the problematic Cooperative Management Committee after the government launched the repayment process on Monday. Depositors, many of whom lost access to their life savings after several cooperatives collapsed, arrived hoping to finally receive their funds. While many welcomed the government's move, uncertainty remains high among victims over when they will actually receive their money. Previously, depositors were asked to complete online application forms, but many say payments never followed, raising concerns over the repayment process. Authorities say depositors with savings below about $75 will receive repayment in the first phase. Those with deposits between $75 and $3,760 will be included in the second phase, while larger depositors will be paid in the final. Officials estimate that nearly 76,000 depositors are owed around $346 million across the troubled cooperatives. Most affected savers are small depositors, although around 18,000 people have deposits exceeding about $3,700. The committee says it has already returned funds to 378 small depositors from the three cooperatives, distributing about $75,000 so far. Many elderly citizens have also complained about difficulties completing online forms, saying the digital process has become an additional burden. Committee Chair Dili Ramacharya said the government could mobilize about $1.88 million from an emergency revolving fund if necessary, to be recovered later through loan collections.
10,000 देखि 5 लाख सम्मकोलाई दोस्रो चरणमा प्रवेश हुन्छ। तेस्रो चरणमा त्यसभन्दा माथिकोलाई प्रवेश हुन्छ। र तेस्रो चरणमा प्रवेश गर्दा अलिकति गहिरिएर हेर्नुपर्ने कुरा के छ भने 1 करोड वा सोभन्दा बढी बचत भएका मान्छेहरूको स्रोत के हो त प्रमाणित गर्नुपर्ने हो कि हैन। सम्पत्ति शुद्धिकरण सम्बन्धी ऐनले 1 करोड भन्दा बढी बचत छ भने त्यो कुन बैंकिङ माध्यमबाट गएको छ भन्ने जस्ता कुरामा प्रवेश गर्नुपर्ने हो कि हैन। हामी त्यता अध्ययन गर्दैछौँ।
The government has declared 23 cooperative institutions as problematic. 3 have already completed repayments, while procedures continue for the remaining institutions.
And in this context, we asked cooperative victims what they have to say about finally starting to receive their money. Let's have a look.
अहिलेसम्म चाहिँ छ नि त्यो नामै आएको छैन। मेरो त छन पङ्गा छोरीको सुधा छ अनि त्यो पाउँछ कि पाउँदैन। पीडितहरू धेरै छन्। यसमा चाहिँ सरकारले एकमुष्ट पैसा जम्मा गरेर सबैलाई सही ढङ्गले चाहिँ दामाछाई बाँड्दै जानु चाहिँ देखिन्छ। डुबेको भए सबैको उठोस्, यो सबैको चाहना त्यही नै हो। अब हाम्रो त यो सहकारी मात्रै अब पैसा फसेछ हैन, पहिला निवेदन भनिन्छ। फेरि चाहिँ फर्म भर्ने प्रक्रिया खुलेको रहेछ। मैले पनि फर्म भरिसकेको छु। कति वर्ष भइसक्यो यो पैसा मैले बच्चाहरूलाई पढाउन भनेर राखेको। अब अहिलेसम्म एक पैसा चलन पाएको छैन। अब चाहिँ पाउन आउँछ कि सिस्टम चाहिँ पहिला हालेको कति गरी हाल्ने हो कि सिजनको कमाइ हो नि हैन। मान्छेको अब के गरेर हुन्छ मेरो पनि पठाउनु लाग्छ।
Nepal is stepping up health surveillance after Ebola outbreaks reported in parts of Africa. Authorities say monitoring has been intensified at airports and border entry points, while hundreds of Nepali peacekeepers stationed in Congo remain under strict health protocols. We'll have the details in our cover story after this break. watching News Hour here on NTV World. I am Sarah Sapsanamarai. Welcome back. Time now for our cover story of the day. Nepal's Minister of Health and Food Safety, Nisha Mehta, addressed the 79th World Health Assembly in Geneva on behalf of Nepal, drawing attention to the growing and interconnected challenges facing global health systems. In her remarks, Minister Mehta stressed that the world is confronting multiple overlapping health crises that demand urgent, coordinated and adequately financed global action. The minister emphasized that without strong and predictable financing, the World Health Organization cannot effectively fulfill its central role in global health coordination and crisis response.
Mr. President, Director General, Excellencies and distinguished delegates, Namaskar. On the behalf of the government and the people of Nepal, I extend warm greetings to this assembly. Today's interconnected crises demand global action, equitable access to medical resources, and robust pandemic preparedness. Nepal reaffirms that a strong, adequately financed WHO is essential to coordinate this shared responsibility. Excellencies, despite the limited resources and challenging geography, Nepal is advancing robust primary health care. We have sustained strong immunization, improved maternal, newborn and child health, and introduced HPV vaccine into routine care. 8 hurdles remain. We faced rising non-communicable diseases, antimicrobial resistance, and solve climate-induced health threats, despite our minimal global emissions. Health is a fundamental human right, not a privilege. Driven by this, we are restructuring our national health architecture and health insurance system. We are enforcing nationwide basic health standards and leveraging telehealth to bridge geographical divides. We are redefining inclusive care by integrating disability rehabilitation into primary health and making mental health a strategic pillar. Recognizing our heritage, we are scientifically institutionalizing Ayurveda, yoga, and natural therapies while promoting the global health tourism to share these traditions with the world. Nepal calls for an equitable global health system that truly responds to country needs. Let us act together, ensuring everyone, everywhere realizes their right to health. Dhanyavad, thank you, and once again, namaste to everyone.
The minister also called for renewed global commitment to equity, resilience and sustained investment in health systems to ensure that progress is not reversed in vulnerable settings like Nepal. At least 131 people have died in an Ebola outbreak in the Democratic Republic of Congo, health officials have confirmed as the 79th World Health Assembly opens in Geneva. This underscores once again how rapidly infectious diseases can cross borders and strain already fragile health systems. The meeting is focusing on improving outbreak surveillance, closing health financing gaps and reinforcing international response systems. April Agising Lama reports.
As the 79th World Health Assembly opened in Geneva Monday, global health leaders gathered against the backdrop of mounting pressure on healthcare systems, widening funding gaps, and growing concern over the world's ability to respond to future health emergencies. The annual meeting of the World Health Organization, the UN agency's highest decision-making body, comes at a critical moment for international health cooperation. Delegates from more than 190 member states are debating how to strengthen fragile health systems while confronting rising costs, workforce shortages, and uneven access to vaccines, medicines, and basic healthcare services. A major focus of this year's assembly is the financial strain facing global health institutions, including the WHO itself. The agency has been grappling with budget shortfalls as humanitarian crises, disease outbreaks, and donor fatigue place increasing pressure on international response mechanisms. Health officials warn that without sustained investment, low and middle-income countries could face greater difficulty detecting and containing future outbreaks before they spread across borders. Delegates are also discussing reforms aimed at improving pandemic preparedness through faster disease surveillance, stronger emergency response systems, and better international coordination. The urgency has been reinforced by recent Ebola outbreaks in parts of Africa, which health authorities say exposed persistent weaknesses in rapid response capacity and healthcare infrastructure. The WHO and partner agencies have deployed emergency medical teams and supported surveillance and containment efforts in affected regions, while officials continue urging communities to seek treatment early and cooperate with public health measures.
L'Organisation mondiale de la santé, aujourd'hui, a amené plus de 5 tonnes de matériel sur le terrain. Des kits de prévention et de contrôle des infections. Nous avons des kits de transport d'échantillons, des tentes, des lits, du matériel de laboratoire, où nous avons amené tous les premiers éléments qui sont essentiels à débuter cette réponse.
Authorities in the Democratic Republic of Congo say early detection and public cooperation remain essential to containing Ebola outbreaks and preventing wider regional spread.
Rampara et puis à Mongwalu et puis ici à Bougne, les sites sont déjà choisis. Pour la population, je voudrais d'abord dire que, et je l'ai dit hier à Kinshasa, je le répète aujourd'hui, ce n'est pas une maladie mystique. Plus vite on va prendre le malade en charge, plus vite on va le soigner, mais plus vite on va arrêter la propagation du virus. Le traitement est gratuit, venez vous faire prendre en charge, qu'on sache que c'est telle maladie et qu'on vous donne les médicaments adaptés.
Meanwhile, WHO Director General Tedros Adhanom Ghebreyesus acknowledged the organization's ongoing financial challenges, saying reforms were underway to make the agency more sustainable and better equipped to respond to future crises.
Early on Sunday, I declared a public health emergency of international concern over an epidemic of Ebola disease in the Democratic Republic of the Congo and Uganda. This is the first time a Director General has declared a FIC before convening an emergency committee. I did not do this lightly. I did it in accordance with Article 12 of the International Health Regulations, after consulting the ministers of health of both countries, and because I'm deeply concerned about the scale and the speed of the epidemic. We will convene the emergency committee today to advise us on temporary recommendations.
The outcomes of this year's assembly are expected to shape international health policy at a time when governments are under growing pressure to strengthen preparedness, restore confidence in global health cooperation, and ensure vulnerable countries are not left behind in future emergencies.
Meanwhile, Nepal has stepped up surveillance and preparedness measures following Ebola outbreaks reported in parts of Africa, with enhanced monitoring in place at Tribhuvan International Airport and major other entry points. Nepal, which has not recorded any Ebola cases so far, has said health workers remain on high alert, while the Nepal Army confirmed that more than 900 peacekeepers deployed in Congo are following strict UN health and quarantine protocols.
It's not very easy to differentiate between the currently available infectious disease and Ebola, because their initial symptoms are very similar. I think we need to go for the testing, the laboratory testing, and by from that report we can say that, of course, this is dengue or this is Ebola. The government is stepping up some precautionary measures, including the airport screening, putting the health decks there. This is not very new, the practice in Nepal, because in the past there was also the Ebola outbreak in Africa, and at that time I still remember that we established the health decks in the airport, and we try our best to screening whoever traveling from the African continent, and if they exhibit any fever or some flu-like symptoms, we were prepared at that time to screening those people and try to find out if there is Ebola infection. The infection that are very infectious as well as they are very pathogenic, very deadly, like Ebola. So we have to do a lot. For example, what I found or what I experienced in the past was the people who are suspected and who are traveling from the Africa, and if they show any symptom of like fever, many people were a little bit their fear of to get infected from those people who are traveling from Africa, definitely. But what it shows that we are not mentally very prepared to manage those kind of the situation. I still remember one individual was returning from the African country, and he said he had a fever. Then many people were feared to take that person to the hospital. I mean, there was a lot of discussion during that time. So that should not be happen again in the future if such a condition again occur. And we probably what we can do is we can bring them and isolate for 3 weeks, and if they don't develop any symptoms like a fever, I mean fever is the hallmark of the infectious disease as well as for Ebola, and if nothing, I mean if there is no any symptoms, then I think we can release them. But for that, I think we should be very clear where we put them. I mean, I don't know still what the government is thinking about that, but for example, in a hospital, in a separate, I mean, room, or in a house, I mean, their own house is separate. Of course, that is more risky, I think. Such a, the condition, I mean, what we can do for the best, not to the potential outbreak, to prevent from the potential outbreak. So for that, I think that we have to make a plan and act accordingly.
That was our cover story of the day. On to other news. Both houses of Nepal's federal parliament, the National Assembly and the House of Representatives, continued deliberations on the principles and the priorities of appropriation bill as part of pre-budget discussions. During meetings held today, lawmakers from various political parties participated in the debate, focusing on the government's proposed fiscal priorities ahead of the upcoming budget. Members discussed issues related to development planning, fiscal federalism, governance reforms and social inclusion. During the sessions, MPs also presented suggestions on strengthening public service delivery, boosting economic growth and ensuring budget allocation reflects the needs of marginalized and underserved communities. The discussions are part of the regular parliamentary process leading up to the formulation of the national budget for the House of Representatives has in fact now concluded the discussion. Lawyers in Nepal staged a lantern-lit protest outside the Supreme Court earlier today, accusing the court administration of obstructing judicial processes by refusing to register petitions related to constitutionally significant cases. Members of the Nepal Bar Association demonstrated during daylight hours carrying lanterns and also placards that read "In search of justice" and "In search of fair process." It symbolized what they described as a lack of transparency and access to justice within the country's highest court. The protest comes amid growing criticism from legal professionals who allege that several writ petitions involving constitutional matters have been turned away by the apex court administration without registration. The association also claimed complaints challenging such decisions have been left pending for prolonged periods, effectively blocking legal remedies. The government of Nepal has started providing monthly medical support to victims injured during the Gen Z protests after classifying them into 4 categories based on severity. Officials say a total of 539 injured people have been identified, including 29 critically injured, 130 seriously injured, 85 moderately injured, and 295 with minor injuries. Critically injured patients and their caregivers will receive 9,000 Nepali rupees every month, which is about $67 US. Seriously injured victims will also receive the same amount. Moderately injured individuals will receive 4,000 rupees per month, about $30, while those with minor injuries will not receive monthly assistance. All injured victims have also received a one-time payment of about $260. Now, more than 74,000 Nepalis left the country for foreign employment in April, highlighting continued reliance on overseas labor markets for jobs. According to Department of Foreign Employment, 74,429 workers received final labor permit in the month of Baisakh, which is mid-April to mid-May duration. This includes 65,010 men and 9,419 women. With this, total labor approvals in the first 10 months of the current fiscal year have reached 661,762. Monthly figures show steady outflow throughout the year. Officials say the trend underscores persistent outbound labor migration as a key source of employment for Nepali workers. The number of foreign climbers obtaining permits for Nepal's mountains has risen this spring season, according to Department of Tourism. 1,181 climbers from 79 countries have received climbing permits in spring 2026. Mount Everest remains the most popular destination, with 494 climbers from 55 countries granted permission so far. Chinese nationals lead the list with 109 permits, followed by climbers from the US, India, the UK, Russia, Australia, Japan, Nepal and Brazil. Permits have also been issued for other major peaks including Lhotse, Amadablam, Nuptse, Himlung, Kanchenjunga and Dhaulagiri. Climbing activities are already underway, with Everest expeditions starting on May 14 after route fixing and rope installation were completed. The Tilganga area of Dang has been transformed into a growing ecotourism destination through reservoir conservation and development. The project has not only helped revive groundwater sources and address local water shortages, but has also created new opportunities for tourism and agriculture. Overall, the area is widely regarded as a model of sustainable development. Rochina Rai with our local correspondent Dashrath Khimiri brings a report.
Once considered an ordinary wetland area, Dang district is now undergoing a remarkable transformation. Through conservation efforts and the construction of reservoirs, the region has emerged as a promising destination for ecotourism. Previously unused marshland has been converted into a valuable water resource that helps recharge underground water supplies while also attracting visitors from various places. The development of reservoirs has helped address the long-standing problem of any drying wells in nearby communities. At the same time, these water bodies has enhanced the natural landscape, offering a peaceful and refreshing environment for the tourist. As a result, the area's tourism potential has steadily increased, bringing new hope and enthusiasm to local residents.
यहाँका कुवाहरू यो वर्ष अघिपछि सुक्ने कुवाहरू सुकेका छैन।
One of the key attractions is the Telganga Reservoir in Dang district, located beside the Rihar-Teli road section in Ward number 9 of Lamahi municipality. Built through coordination between local authorities, the reservoir is gradually becoming a popular destination and a symbol of successful environmental conservation. In the same area, 4 reservoirs have been constructed, significantly helping to alleviate local water shortages. On the other hand, farmers are now able to make better use of water for agriculture and irrigation, improving both farming productivity and livelihoods. This success highlights the importance of conserving and developing water resources at the local level. Such initiatives not only help prevent future water crises, but also create opportunities for tourism, agriculture, and sustainable community development.
Disaster-related incidents, including fires, were reported across Nepal in the past 24 hours. This is according to National Disaster Risk Reduction and Management Authority. 1 person died and 2 others were injured in fire incidents that occurred at 11 different locations, including Kathmandu, Lalitpur, Jhapa, Morang, Dhanusha, Bara, Dang, Dadildhura and Acham districts. In Kathmandu alone, 3 separate fire incidents were reported in Ramghat, Chandragiri and Tinchuli. In one incident at a restaurant in Tinchuli, Kathmandu, a person was injured due to a gas leakage-induced fire. Another individual was injured when a grocery shop caught fire in Gitepani, Dang. In Acham's Mangal Sen, a 2-year-old girl died in a fire incident. The authority also confirmed that 3 people died in different disasters within the same period, 1 in a fire in Acham, 1 from a snake bite in Bara, and another from altitude sickness in Dolba. Property damage from these incidents is estimated at around $58,000. Time now for international update, but before that, a quick recap of the top stories this hour. Dr. Manoj Kumar Sharma, sworn in as the Chief Justice of Nepal, assumes top court role, pledging judicial integrity and professional ethics. Nepal government announces financial support for river bank settlement, endorses key regulatory reforms, including deputation and army service amendments. Nepal begins phased repayment to cooperative victims as thousands await return of savings. Relief process underway amid fragile trust. Congo battles Ebola outbreak as WHO holds global health talks, including hantavirus. Officials warn of rising risks from emerging diseases. Russian President Putin reaches China for 2-day visit after Trump's Beijing trip. 2 neighbors set to discuss trade, energy ties and war cooperation. And Neymar recalled to Brazil squad after nearly 3-year international absence. Fans celebrate as the new coach inducts the forward to World Cup. The United Nations has demanded that Israel take immediate measures to prevent acts of genocide in Gaza, following a fresh report that raised concerns over compliance with obligations under the Genocide Convention. Speaking in Geneva, Ajit Sanghay, head of the UN Human Rights Office in the occupied Palestinian territories, warned of worsening starvation and famine conditions linked to Israeli blockade on Gaza.
The Israeli military has killed 72,769 Palestinians since 7th of October 2023 in Gaza. In their homes, in IDP shelters, in hospitals, in schools, in places of worship, on the streets, while queuing for aid, while trying to fish in the sea. During the reporting period, the Israeli blockade on Gaza resulted in starvation and famine. Any use of starvation as a method of war against civilians is a war crime, and it may amount to crimes against humanity and even genocide in certain conditions. Displaced Palestinians have scant prospects of return, raising concerns about ethnic cleansing and forcible transfer.
Business news coming up next. For now, a short breather.
The U.S. Department of Justice has dropped criminal fraud charges against Indian billionaire Gautam Adani and some officials of his firm, days after he agreed to settle a separate civil case. Adani Enterprises, his group's flagship firm, also agreed to pay $275 million to the U.S. Treasury to settle a separate investigation into alleged violations of sanctions on Iran. According to media sources, the Adani Group has now resolved all 3 legal cases against it in the U.S. This will pave the way for Adani to travel to the U.S. without risk of legal proceedings. Media reports say the dropped charges reflect a broader move away from prosecuting foreign bribery cases under Donald Trump's administration. Adani, 63, is one of the world's richest people, worth $82 billion according to Forbes. His Adani Group is one of India's largest business conglomerates with interest in sectors including energy, ports and airports. A court had accepted Samsung Electronics' management request for an injunction helping the company avert a complete shutdown of its semiconductor production lines during an ongoing labor dispute. The ruling had prevented the worst-case scenario of halted wafer processing, a complex 4 to 7 month manufacturing cycle involving thousands of sub-processes. The company had said around 7,000 workers were needed to maintain safe operations and prevent wafer degradation, while the union had disputed the figure. Although the injunction had limited disruption, the labor union confirmed its general strike would still proceed as scheduled on May 21. Concerns had remained that prolonged disruptions could still lead to partial wafer disposal, as semiconductor production was highly sensitive to any interruption in the process.
And with that, we move on to sports update. Arsenal moved to brink of their first Premier League title in 22 years after a 1-0 win over Burnley on May 18. Kai Havertz scored the only goal as Arsenal extended their lead at the top to 5 points. The result left Arsenal needing one more win to secure the title, with Manchester City still mathematically in contention, depending on their remaining fixtures.
Look where we are. We are 1 game away from winning the Premier League with everything that we've been through, and that shows how strong the mindset and the team is.
And now the weather updates, first from across Nepal and then around the world. Before wrapping up, here's a reminder of our top stories. Dr. Manoj Kumar Sharma, sworn in as the Chief Justice of Nepal, assumes top court role, pledging judicial integrity and professional ethics. Nepal government announces financial support for riverbank settlement, endorses key regulatory reforms including deputation and army service amendments. Nepal begins phased repayment to cooperative victims as thousands await return of savings. Relief process underway amid fragile trust. Congo battles Ebola outbreak as WHO holds global health talks including hantavirus. Officials warn of rising risks. Russian President Putin reaches China for a 2-day visit after Trump's Beijing trip. Two neighbors set to discuss trade, energy ties and war cooperation. And Neymar recalled to Brazil squad after nearly 3-year international absence. Fans celebrate as the new coach inducts the forward to World Cup. That brings us to the end of this edition of News Hour here on NTV World. Do join us through our social media pages and also visit our official website, nepaltelevision.com. I'm Sarah Sapsanamarai. Thanks for staying with us. Good night.